Okay. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Peace be upon everyone who's watching. This is Kenny Bomer Live on Consider This TV, where truth has been made clear from falsehood. And tonight is Thursday. Is tonight Thursday?
Thursday.
Thursday.
Well, yes. Friday for us.
Friday for you already, alhamdulillah. So we have brother Mustafa Ahmed from the UK. He is joining us live. And what time is it there? About 1 a.m. or midnight?
Coming up to 12:30.
Okay. So about 12:30 or so. Okay, midnight or past midnight. And we also have brother Kareem Ubaidullah, the tutor, alhamdulillah. And
you can just say Kareem.
Kareem Ubaidullah. Say it, brother. Say it.
So you can break it down. 1 second here.
Ubaidullah. That's my Texas tongue manipulating me. So anyway,
I love Texas accent. I love Texas accent. Trust me.
I prefer your accent. I assure you.
No. I love the Texas. You got such a beautiful, strong. From Texas, like I'm like, whoa.
Alhamdulillah. So once again, we're on Kenny Bomer Live on Consider This TV, and this is an open offer to any Christians that would like to come and ask us any questions. Any difficult question that you have about Islam, whatever's on your mind, if you'd like to come in and have a discussion, that'd be great, inshallah, God willing. And we're also expecting a couple of Christian brothers to come on and join us, the self-proclaimed Christian prophet Olga Yates, and the brother by the name of Alex. I don't remember Brother Alex's last name right now, but another Christian brother. And we're actually waiting for them to come in. But meanwhile, if any other Muslims or Christians for that matter would like to come and join us, or if you'd like to share the link to this feed in Facebook groups, that'd be great as well. And I'd like to encourage
they can call in without the camera, so that just so they know they don't have to have it.
And also, all you need to do to join is click the very top link. If you're on your laptop or your desktop, click the very top link. It's free. You're not being charged anything. You don't have to download anything. If you come in through your phone, you will have to download the Zoom app, but it's free once again to join, and pretty simple. And so in the meantime, I would like to encourage you to give to the Dawah Fund on kennybomer.com, inshallah, God willing. This is a means to share the truth and the beauty of Islam with people. And of course, all this stuff costs money, and this is, printing the books and all the things that I'm trying to do right now. Your help would be fantastic, inshallah, God willing. And also give to the GoFundMe for Brother Kareem and his efforts to teach people the Quran and to make sure. Go ahead, brother. Tell us about that a little bit, as a matter of fact.
Okay, so basically, really quickly, as anything in the world these days when it comes to certifications, if you want to get certified in anything, you do your studies, and you may have to pay for your studies. Alhamdulillah, studying Quran is pretty much free. You can do it online, you can do it with someone, it's pretty much free. But when you want to get certified, just like you go for your test in certain certifications that are other than Quranic certification, it's pretty much the same thing. It costs money for various reasons. It's well known, and especially the higher or the more elevated the certification is, sometimes the more money you have to actually pay to get everything and to take your tests or whatever the case is. So we're doing a GoFundMe because I've reached a certain level where I am looking to enter into a program, and it's going to be some extra money that not everyone has on hand. However, the goal is to get the certification, and once someone has a certification, like the certification of reciting the Quran by memory fully without mistakes, and also being able to teach others and transmit the same authority. So if I get certified, the money that we raised from the GoFundMe, those same people can send me a message after that, and we can do things online and hopefully be able to make it easier for people to get certified. Because once you have the authority, you can choose to accept whatever you would make as a teacher professionally, and Quran, or you could do it for free. So there's some people who may have the qualification and may do it for free, but it's not very common, especially if you need a certificate and the likes. You really want to go to like an institution. Either way, so yeah, so that's the GoFundMe. We'll post it, and may Allah make it easy for us to complete that.
And brother, send that. Matter of fact, if you would send that link to me, and I'll post it in my chat on the Facebook Live, inshallah, and we'll try to share that. And I also sent an invite to C.O. Yates, and I'm sending some invites to a number of people. We also have brother Mustafa Ahmed from the UK. Assalamu alaikum, brother. What's going on over there in the UK? Alhamdulillah. I see you're posting a lot of good information on a daily basis. Alhamdulillah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept your efforts. I see.
I'm trying to specialize on proving how the Torah that the Jews and Christians currently read is not the authentic Torah that was given to Musa alayhi salam.
Yeah.
There may be some information within the Torah that orally was transmitted and written down, which is not an issue, which is not a problem. But in a whole, I don't believe that the Torah itself, the 5 books, the Pentateuch, was the books that were written by Musa alayhi salam. Especially when you have information that are completely absurd. So I'm kind of like, I want to get more deep into this and prove the point, because when the problem is that Christians normally come up to Muslims and say, right, do you believe in the Torah and the Injil that we have, or the Bible? And you say no. Then they'll say to you, okay, why do you not believe it? So we'll say the Quran tells us that it's been, the Quran tells us that there's been changes made, etc. So they say, okay, then since your Quran tells you that it's not authentic, then can you prove it to us how it's not authentic? What's the problem? Where's the changes? How is it corrupted? That kind of puts a lot of people in a situation.
Sure.
So giving them information to prove to them from the Bible itself and from classical rabbis. You are aware, I don't know if you guys are aware, brothers are aware, that the Talmud is an amazing set of books. The Talmud actually does give us information that the Torah, there has been changes made and alterations and deletions. You are aware.
Sure.
The Talmud kind of like gives it away. Yes. And that's really interesting when I pull it out. And I think that's really an important subject that I want to get more deeper into and let people know that, look, don't start preaching to me about your book. It holds no credibility.
Yeah.
The way we can get Christians in this room is just call Paul a snake. Just say he was a liar. They'll freak out because they obey Paul more than they obey Jesus. And I know, Brother Kenny, you're specializing in that field as well, to prove how Paul himself was not a genuine man.
Yeah, I actually call him the imposter Paul, and I try to get Christians to understand and wrap their minds around the fact that the tactics of Shaitan are he's devious, right? So in order for someone to truly break a system down, or break an organization down, or a group down, the best way to do it, one of the best ways to do it, is to infiltrate that group and to destroy it from the inside out.
Wow.
And Allah tells us in the Quran that Shaitan swore that he would attack man from the front, from the back, from the right, from the left.
Yes.
And he's going to be a relentless enemy. And so if you think about that, and you consider the number of times that Paul contradicts Jesus, peace be upon him, in the Bible, on so many different levels, so many, just numerous contradictions. It's evident that there's some evil being enacted there. We talked yesterday in the discussion yesterday with Olga Yates about the Nazarenes of 62 AD, and the fact that they believed in the substitution theory in regards to the resurrection and the crucifixion. But the other thing that I was trying to stress to him, which that conversation was crazy, but the fact that the Nazarenes of 62 AD were at conflict with the Pauline Christians, because they believed that what they had was different than what the Pauline Christians had. They were in conflict with one another. As a matter of fact, they were calling one another heretics, you know, and they were disputing with one another. So these are all contentions that were in early Christianity, and you know, all it is a matter of simply using logic and reason and saying, okay, let me look at this collectively. And you know, the unfortunate thing is, and this is not bashing Christians by no means, I'm just speaking the truth. And I mentioned it yesterday, and it's just a fact and a reality that when you go to church, I know you brothers, I think Brother Kareem was a Christian before, and I believe Mustafa, he was born into Islam, which is a great blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But if you go to churches, and you go to various churches, you're going to hear a slightly different message being preached. And I say that because I've gone to Pentecostal churches where speaking in tongues was very prominent, happened in every service. And I've gone to Baptist churches where it's never going to happen. As a matter of fact, they make fun of the Pentecostals for speaking in tongues. They don't believe in it. And so we see these disagreements. And, you know, even though the main issue in regards to Christians believing that Jesus, peace be upon him, was crucified, he resurrected, of course, you know, history is written by the winner. So if matter of fact, there's a man by the name of Stephen Goebbels, who was one of the Nazi, one of the head spokesmen for Hitler with the Nazi party during World War II. And he says that if a lie is told 1,000 times, eventually that lie is going to be perceived as the truth.
Wow.
And so, you know, if you consider that and you think, okay, well, history is written by the winners, and this lie is propagated over and over and over again throughout the centuries. And we know, you know, with the father.
But Brother Kenny, just to stop you there, how did Paul succeed? I mean, there was a lot of believers there, like you said.
Yeah.
How did Paul succeed? Why was this individual's message passed through, like, for all the believers?
You know, that's a tricky question, and it's a question that, you know, goes back to the early days of Christianity, and the fact that they were in so much dispute with one another that a lot of these people were being banished. They were being murdered. They were being tortured. They were being, you know, so in regards to Paul, you know, obviously we know that the 14 books that are attributed to Paul in the New Testament are the majority of the New Testament, and they seem to have grabbed 4 gospels that are going to somewhat tell a similar story. We know the 3 synoptic gospels, and we know John takes it to another level. But it seems that you know, for whatever reason, they've chosen to follow the teachings of Paul, and I just truly, once again, I associate it with Satan. You know, Satan and his influence on the world, and trying to destroy the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the Prophet Jesus, peace be upon him, from the inside out. And you know, so it's a truly, you know, it's unfortunate that many Christians don't engage themselves in true study and research. I know there's some out there that do, but they also, you know, the vast majority of people who call themselves Christians are, that's Isha prayer. The vast majority of the people who call themselves Christians are just simply relying upon what the preacher is saying on Sunday morning or Wednesday night or whenever they go, and they're relying upon a text that has been tampered with over and over again, but they're unaware of it. And so it makes for a very difficult situation, because
no, you're right, brother. I'll tell you. Sorry to cut you. I'll tell you, because I was speaking to a Christian lady, and I'll tell you what it is. It's about this blood atonement. Anywhere they see blood or they hear blood, that's it. If the Bible if you know, out of, you know, adding all those books, anywhere that they read the word blood, they just freak out. But there's something about blood, so they will be like, no, Jesus is blood, we need his blood. And I think, okay, what if Jesus came and said, I don't want to be a sacrifice for you, you take your sin and I'll take mine, I don't want your sin. The lady was that, no, he has to take my sin. I said, why are you being selfish for? Why are you putting your sin on another man's head for? He doesn't want to take your sin. Why are you forcing it? You're selfish now.
Yeah,
You want your sin, someone to take it.
yeah,
So
and it's an easy way out, to be honest. It's an easy way out, and it falls in line with the discussion within Christianity itself. There were some denominations that believed in the once saved, always saved scenario, and some don't believe in that. But overall, it's a romantic story. You know, that God changed himself into a man, and that he would die himself. But wait a minute, did he change himself? Did he change himself into, you know, a son, or is it God himself that did it? You know, so whatever route you want to go, it's a romantic story, and it's actually an easy story. I joke around with a brother by the name of A.K. Manning. That, you know, matter of fact, I think you're familiar with A.K. Manning, I believe.
yeah.
But he's actually, I enjoy talking to the brother. I actually had the opportunity to meet him a few weeks ago when he came to Texas. But I joke around with him a lot, and I tell him that Christians are lazy. And he asked me why did I say that, and I tell him so many different reasons why I say Christians are lazy. But one of the primary reasons is that that I say that, and I'm joking, but I'm somewhat serious. Is the simple fact that they're not seeking knowledge for themselves. They're relying upon that romantic story that I mentioned. They're relying upon that, and that's what psychologists refer to as anchoring bias. That's the first story that they were told from the time they were very young. And it's a romantic story, and it sounds like an easy way out to where, especially the people who believe in the once saved, always saved, because you accept Jesus at the age of 13. I'm just throwing a random number out there, and because you said Jesus come into my heart, then you're saved for the rest of your life. And it puts unfortunately, it puts a belief in someone's mind that they can do anything from here on out, because at one point in their life they accepted Jesus, and that his blood did everything for all the sins they've committed before and after. And
yeah.
there's no work. And of course, some Christians don't believe in that once saved always saved scenario, but
No, but the
overall,
logic, but the logic is really weak, though. I mean, think of it
yeah,
like this.
well, I agree,
I
absolutely.
went to a Christian lady, and I said to her, "Okay, um, is God able to do everything?" And she said, "Yes." I said, "Okay, let's just limit it and not go outside and start, mocking. But let's just say God can do whatever He wills." She's like, "Fair enough. Okay, right. So God created the heavens and the earth and everything in between them." She's like, "Yes, you're right. He created." I said, "Okay. So before God, there was nothing, right?" She's agreed with that. Yes, before God, there was nothing. God created everything, and God created the humans, the animals, the plants, the trees, everything. I said, "Okay, brilliant." I said, "Right. So God can do whatever He likes, when He likes, and how He likes." She said, "Of course." I said, "Right. Can God forgive the sins of people without shedding any blood?" And she said, "No." I said, "Wait, you said God can do whatever He likes, when He likes, whenever He likes, however He likes, yet He's not able to forgive the sins of people?" She said, "No." I said, "Why not?" She goes, "Because blood is needed. Someone has to pay the price of a sin." I said, "No, but wait, here's the problem. God created everything, even human beings. So are you telling me He's not allowed to forgive them without adding additional people to pay for the sins?" And she still insisted, "No, someone has to pay for the sin." So you're right, it's been all like they've been like programmed with it, that there has to be someone atoning, or someone has to pay for it. It has to be a ransom and all of that rubbish. They can't accept that God can forgive sins whenever He likes. This is His prerogative. It's whenever God pleases, He can forgive. He doesn't need anyone else to suffer
Yeah,
or
and
blame.
one thing that I try to stress to them in regards to that is that they're actually limiting God's mercy,
Yes.
or they're implying that it's limited, meaning that it requires
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
payment for forgiveness to be forgiven, or for forgiveness to be given, rather. And that's actually limiting,
Mm.
if that's the case, that way of thinking is limiting the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And of course, we as Muslims believe that His mercy extends. We can't even fathom His mercy. As a matter of fact, prime example is the fact that all the atheists in the world that reject Him, and all the people that are attacking, the belief in any creator on a daily basis for whatever reason, they reject the Creator, but there's many people who spend vast number of hours of their lives talking about this Creator that they don't believe in, and in the process, for the people who are rejecting. I'm reading text as I'm talking, alhamdulillah. But
what are you reading? Is it like people messaging or?
Yes.
Why don't they get on?
Well, there's one in particular, some guy named Gregory Williams, and he has an issue with the word Islamophobe, as though it's the word's an excuse. But
wait, someone is commenting on what you're saying as we speak.
This guy's been going at it all day, and I've been inviting him to the room all day, or telling him that he and I could go one-on-one, and here he is once again while we're speaking, and he's sending derogatory messages.
So, okay. Also, by the way, I'm gonna share the GoFundMe link if people like that and wanna use that GoFundMe link that we were talking about. Or I'm also gonna send an alternate way, which is just through the PayPal, and that one's also connected with that Howfield program. But yes, the PayPal of course is better because it's way quicker and things like that. So yeah, they can use either one, but I sent you at least one.
Okay, and I've seen that in the message.
And while I have the mic here, I just want to make I want to ask, maybe we can all come to an agreement on this in the next coming minutes. If we can have a section of this live, and of course this live is going to be posted afterward, but maybe we could cut up a section. We'll basically start the time and start discussing something that I want us to discuss, and then have it as a separate kind of like a small show that will be cut up in maybe 20-minute section, because I want us to kind of really discuss what's going on here, how me and you two fine gentlemen find ourselves here all the time waiting for Christians to come in, and specifically people who are talking, who are typing daily. So what I'm saying is we could kind of cut up a section and have it as our challenge section and post that separately, just so the people know that we're going to have a section now, because they don't want to come in. We're going to go on the intellectual offensive. We're going to talk about some people and maybe some posts you guys have been seeing recently. We're going to debunk them if we choose right now, and they'll have the invitation to come. And if not, we'll continue to debunk them and put them down for being the opposite of courageous and coming here and talking to us. So I think that's a good, we can talk and hang out until that, and then we can agree on a certain section, maybe do a 20-minute and really discuss why is it that the people that are well known, we all know the names, and why they're watching us, and they're going to watch it later, and we're going to name that part that's specifically towards the Christians who represent Christianity in a debate forum. So we're looking for them, we're searching, and they're nowhere to be found. Of
course. No, I respect that. Jazakallah. I just want to add one thing to it about this atonement rubbish, is that the Jews and the Christians, they never, they don't agree with each other. So the Jewish theology is completely different than the Christian theology. And it's amazing, and brother Kenny and brother Kareem would know this. Allah speaks about this in the Quran, that they dispute each other, yet they read from the same book.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Allah says in the Quran that the Jews and the Christians dispute each other, but they read from the same book.
Yeah, and that's one of the verses early. I was 15, 16 years old. I accepted Islam at the age of 17. But I read that and I thought about that. I was like, well, that's true. Alhamdulillah. I never thought about that before, and I think that's.
I never thought of that. Subhanallah. When I read the very first time when I read the English translation of the Quran, and when I read the translations, I came across this verse, and I was, Subhanallah, I was like, yeah, I was amazed. Like Allah.
It's perplexing. It's
Like, it was something that you just say Allahu Akbar, that Allah is full of knowledge, that Allah is telling us, and this is so true, that they dispute each other, they argue with each other, and then they read from the same book.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And so the Christians, they talk about this blood atonement, that it's needed, and the Jews are saying, no, you don't need blood atonement.
Yeah, and I actually I got off track a while ago because I was trying to respond to a text while I was talking. That's never a good idea. But you know, a gentleman that I encourage anyone who's listening, Muslim and Christian alike, to look into is Brother Rabbi Tovia Singer. He's a very outspoken Jewish rabbi. He's very knowledgeable about the
Very respectful too.
yeah, very respectful and very, very knowledgeable. This man's got a lot of knowledge about the Old Testament, and he defends it adamantly. He means what he's talking about, and I encourage Muslims and Christians alike to watch his videos on YouTube and to watch his debates, because for one, it's going to solidify for the Muslim. It's going to solidify the oneness of Allah. Of course, you know, if you're a true Muslim, you know you believe in the oneness of Allah, but there's things that are said there that are said in even the books that we know that have been tampered with. There's still some truth there, and it solidifies what we believe as Muslims in the true oneness of our Creator. And for the Christians, you can see from a different perspective. Most Christians, the vast majority of Christians, they have no clue what true Muslims believe. They have no true knowledge of what Jewish people believe. But once again, back to what you said, but they're reciting from the same book. And if you think about, you know, our natural instinct, we know fitra, we know we have a natural inclination that Allah is one. And each and every person believes that way. I've talked to Christian after Christian after Christian that has told me time and time again that I don't pray to Jesus, or I may pray in Jesus' name, but I'm actually praying to God. I'm praying to the Creator. I've heard so many Christians tell me that, you know, and that's signs of the natural inclination that God is one.
Yes.
And it's unfathomable that there's a God Junior and a God Senior. And I don't mean that to be mocking or anything like that, but it's, you can't talk
but like I said again, bro. When they talk about blood and they need blood atonement and the sacrifice, and the Jews say no, we don't need sacrifice for forgiveness of sin. And then a Christian lady went to me, well, what about all of those animals that they were sacrificing? And the Jewish response is that those animals are only sacrificed for certain sins which are unintentional, etc.
Yeah, unintentional sins. That's right.
I mean,
right.
It's amazing as well. This is the amazing thing, and I said that to Mr. Manning as well. I said that nowhere, and this is a challenge to any Christians who are listening to this episode, it's a challenge. Nowhere in the Torah does God or Yahweh command animal sacrifice, i.e., he doesn't command it. Rather, he uses the word im, or like if. He says, if you are to bring a lamb, if you are to bring a bull, if you are to bring, he's always using the word if. He's not saying you have to. Because in the book of Hosea, he said, I never commanded you any animal sacrifice. Rather, it's you who brought it.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that in the same Old Testament, or, you know, in the Bible itself, there's so many contradicting statements regarding the use of blood for forgiveness of sin versus the lack of the requirement. Is Brother Kareem still with us?
Yes.
Oh, it seems that you're
paused.
You're frozen, or your videos.
No. So what happened is, for the moment, I just quit. I just shut it off. But yeah. So I've seen that. Yeah, it has a picture. But I think that's probably good also, though. You know, because if I'm gonna have it off anyway, at least they know who's there.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, just for a second here. But also, are you guys? Can I say something real quick, or was you guys gonna finish up?
Go ahead.
Okay, so I was kind of thinking it even deeper, thinking the idea over, and I think that would be good. Like since we do these lives, and it's nothing for us to do these lives, and we have fun anyway. I would think that a lot of times people who are interested in what we talk about, maybe are not gonna have time to watch the whole thing or listen to the whole thing, and it's kind of hard to know what we talked about. So maybe we can even make the pact amongst us three to meet once a week and do a interactive kind of podcast. What I mean by that is, like, for example, we're all taking part in this, and I think the Speakers Corner group, right? All of us are in that one.
Yes.
One of them, I know there's quite a few online, but I'm sure we all see a lot of them. So what we can do is maybe do a weekly overview of what people have been posting, and even kind of read them as we go. So it's interactive. People get their stuff read, and then we discuss them. So maybe a Christian who's constantly posting stuff, and we can kind of debunk them in an interactive way, kind of force their hand to get involved, because we're going to speak on specific people's posts. We're going to read them off and, you know, kind of do a week recap of what people have been posting. So I'm thinking of ideas like that to force people into getting interactive, because we're going to look at specific things and kind of post it later, maybe as a section of our lives that's only 30 minutes long, so that a person could know by the heading, this was part of a live, it was a 30-minute session on recent posts. You know what I mean? So that way, when people go to your to look at the live, they say, okay, the new edition of their weekly program is out on what people have been posting. So people who are interested specifically in that, they can hear that. And you know, so I'm kind of thinking about it in that type of way. What do you guys think?
I really like that. I think that's brilliant. Definitely, the posts that we come across, we can use them as our session, and we can say, right,
exactly. So we'll never be in need of talking points, because we'll always have new posts that we're reviewing.
No, you're right. Like, for example, I was on WhatsApp a couple of days ago, and many of the brothers, they add me in their groups. One of the well, I've got quite a lot of groups, so I can't go through all of them. But one of the Christian guys said something, and I can see it just highlighted. So I thought I'd just get in the group. And he was talking about the Quran speaking on semen coming out the backbone and the rib. And so I kind of had a really discussion with him, but I was trying to be on point. But he was getting so frustrated that he didn't know how to get out of it. So what he was doing, he was just twisting it. So I was generally just saying to him, okay, so you said that the Quran says that semen comes from the backbone and rib. Maybe you can show me first where the word semen is used. Right. So he obviously couldn't find semen. And then I said, so do you apologize that you made, that you lied? Do you see how it works? So they kind of they're good at twisting stuff as well. So and they tried, and other brothers, they get a bit confused, and sisters as well. So for this reason, you're right. We should take those posts and we should refute them in the most academic.
Absolutely. And you know about this, Brother Mustafa, how great of an idea this may become is because, just think about it. If you put a post up, and you post quite often, if there was a legit and credible podcast that would pick up your post and kind of call you out in a respectful way. Okay, Mustafa put this, let's look at it, let's ask him to come on. Why is he posting this? Why is he not here? So you're kind of forcing it. And I'm sure a brother like you, if you heard that a Christian podcast is looking at your stuff directly and commenting on it, it kind of urges you to say, hold on, I want to defend my work. So again, we kind of pushing people, into coming into the platform, because now we're going to take the intellectual fight to them. We're not waiting anymore. We're going to look at what you guys are posting and kind of shout out. If we see good ideas and good arguments, we can shout that out also. But we're going to really critique people, and if they have a problem with it, they could come in here and have their say.
Exactly. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, and target mainly the most outspoken people in these groups.
Exactly.
Honestly, I try to avoid those groups now, because I'm writing the second book, and I stay too busy. But there was a part, time in my life that I felt such an urge to try to address every single one of these arguments that they made.
Exactly. Yeah.
It was so aggravating to me that I felt like I wanted to address it, and obviously we can't do that. We're just wasting so much time by doing so.
Yes.
So the thing is to find, maybe if each one of us find a key, some kind of key post that someone made
that stood out for us,
and also invite that individual in particular, and say, look, we're going to do this on such and such night. Maybe make it on Wednesday nights, or we'll talk about that. But invite these people that are so outspoken in these particular groups, or that are continuously outspoken, and put them to the test, and let them come in and actually engage in the actual conversation and present their case, and so absolutely.
Yes, and I'm looking forward to the freedom of being able to in a friendly way, address some people, because it doesn't have to be restricted to. You may have an issue with someone in particular who's not on any other particular platform, but he's texting you, he's messaging you, and you could let him know that you're going to discuss it. Maybe you would hide his name, until he agrees. But in general, if people are posting for the World Wide Web to see, then that they become a public figure to a certain extent. We can critique them in a nice way. So even if we
Sure,
use
sure.
names, people are putting their names anyway on their posts. So this is information they want people to know, discuss, and talk about. And so we're gonna put it to the test, because I see a huge problem with all of these Facebook groups, and these guys are posting, and then you get in an argument with them, and they're so dead set on them being correct, and at the end of the day they have no courage to talk. I'm not sure what type of a society. Maybe it's the cell phones that everyone is texting and they can't talk anymore.
Well, it boils down to, I try to tell these people consistently to be readers instead of repeaters, because unfortunately what's going on is these people see something online and they repeat what they see online, or they see a meme and they share the meme, and it's just over and over and over again. And most of these people actually have no knowledge about what they're talking about at all. That's just the reality. And it's unfortunate, but it's just the truth. So some of them are just there, and it's mind-boggling to me, because I don't understand why someone spends so much time attacking, especially for the atheists. Why spend so much time attacking a God that you don't believe even exists? It's mind-boggling. So
Oxymoron.
yeah, it's. I have no clue. But
Hey, you're right. Hey, you know what? But before you go, Mustafa, before you go, it's amazing what he said, because it's so true. Because if you think about it, that's always what it boils down to. We're here affirming and standing by most of their theological tenets. We believe that their God is our God, but they're steady trying to say our God is not. So we're always with our hand out in friendship to them and in agreement, and they're saying, no, not our God, that Allah, even though Jesus even used the word, out of all the words he could have used in the whole world, he used the same words I use, but that counts for nothing. Still not the same God. It's terrible.
This guy, prime example. This Gregory Williams guy. He's been going back and forth all day, and I've been telling him the same thing that I'm telling you guys now. That I don't engage in no longer. I just don't do it. I'm not going to waste my time going back and forth by text in these Facebook groups. I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah, that guy, I used to have issues, but I think he blocked me.
Yeah. Well, he says
I don't try to involve too much on those ignorant ones, because it's not worth it.
Yeah,
it's not worth
this is the first time. This is the first time today that I've ever seen this guy's name. But it's while I'm telling him, hey, look, I can send you a link and we can have a live discussion right now, or tell me when's good for you. He's saying that I'm making the excuses. I'm saying, well, let's have an actual discussion instead of going back and forth. So he tells me more excuses. You could have responded to me in the same amount of time that you have used to avoid answering. And I've told him I'm not gonna send you a long response to your false accusations, and for you not to read it or to take it to heart. But you can present that same scenario to me, and I'll talk to you about it live and help. Basically, my intention is I want to hold these people accountable. These people that have these anonymous IDs, and these people that are in these groups and they're constantly attacking over and over and over again. I want to hold them accountable, and I want to hold them accountable by saying, "Hey, come and let's have an actual live discussion, and let's go ahead and put everything out on the table, and let's figure out what the issues are, and where your where your problems are." But once again, just excuse after excuse, and
Brother, you're getting me in the mood to start calling out some names, and I think I'm gonna start with somebody, because this person, who I'm going to talk about next,
he's saying the problem is that you have not answered me. Well, I already told him why I'm not answering him. I'm not going to answer him in that platform.
Yeah, you're live trying to get him to call in. That's why.
Yeah, and I've sent him the link. He says, you've not answered me. You just keep hiding behind your safety net.
Oh my gosh.
And
That's
your
like the
safe
guy in the
space-
fight who keeps screaming, hold him back, but he doesn't really want to fight.
Right.
That's like him.
You're
the one
hiding behind
stopping
your
him.
safety net, your safe space, where you can be insulated from having to actually engage in legitimate debate. Alhamdulillah. So in his mind, the legitimate debate is in the Facebook group where he can copy and paste stuff instead of actually coming here and let's test somebody's knowledge in a live discussion. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
It's mind-boggling.
But can I go into a little rant here because okay, so there's someone online, right? And they post if this is a man or woman, and they can't take it offensive because I don't know anything about this person except their words and their picture on Facebook. But so you guys let me know if you're okay with naming this. I just want to say something about
name and shame. That's it. It's about naming and shaming. That's it. Period.
we gotta shame them. Is this the shaming session? What'd you say?
That's it. Name and shame, bro. Halal.
Well, listen,
I think so because they post publicly,
Yeah.
and you can respond publicly. I mean,
Simple.
James White does it all the time, correct? He's always looking at what Ijaz Ahmed writes, what everyone is saying, and then he speaks about them. He calls their names out. So, but my thing is this: why is it, brothers? And I want this is a question for you too. Why is it that you have like these Christians who you know what? I'm gonna actually let you guys open up this session. I don't want to take up too much time, but you guys go ahead and speak about your experiences with people online and you know, what do you want to see happen within maybe next week or next 2 weeks with this broadcast? Because this is specifically for, you know, the people.
So I'll start off. You know what? I've seen the people online, especially deceptive people. And with all due respect, I don't want to make it sound again like derogatory, but I'm not targeting Christians in a whole. I'm targeting Hindus and Buddhists and atheists and Christians and Jews. I'm just saying that they're deceptive. Like Brother Kenny said, and Brother Kareem as well, that using stupid, like twisted, like a sickness, like for example, oh, you're not answering my question. I asked you a question, you're not answering. Well, I don't have to answer your question. You've asked me something and I've responded, and now you're asking me again. I've responded. Third time you're asking me. I just don't want to respond because you're just being stupid now. The guy, when he said to me about a semen coming from the backbone and the rib, and when I answered him, then he said, okay. I said, no, it says fluid main, like the water or fluid. He said, okay, now tell me, how is fluid there? And I said, well, I'm not going to give you a biology class now. Do you know what I mean?
And
sure.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, a lot of these questions require a lot of time and effort, you know, and that's my thing. I've spent so much time in the past, and to answer Brother Kareem's question about, you know, the next 2 weeks or so, I've spent so much time in the past, you know, trying to give long, thorough answers, all for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? But I've come to realize through time that these people aren't listening.
No.
Matter of fact, the longer the response is, the less likely they're going to read it, and they've already predetermined in their mind and made their mind up. So in regards to what my agenda is and what I'd like to see transpire is that we, once again, like we mentioned, hold these people accountable and find and target these people that are in these groups and making these claims over and over again that they're very outspoken in these groups, and put them to the test and tell them, hey, look, if you'd like to engage in a true discussion, well, come to the platform, come to Kenny Bomer Live, we'll consider this TV where truth is made clear from falsehood, and we'll address your issues in an actual discussion. But what we're going to find is the vast majority of those people, they're going to hide, they're going to make excuses, they will not come. Why? Because they are the ones that are hiding behind the safety net. And what disgusts me the most are the people that operate with these fake IDs, the people that
you make me laugh, bro, when you discuss me.
Well, the thing is, if you look at a lot of these people's IDs, they're fake names, and they have no photos. You don't know who these people are, which allows them to say anything and everything. And
Speaking of that, my brother, you made a great point. Let's talk about, you know what, let's go in on someone who is posting regularly, and we'll hear this. If we so please, we can get this to him, and hopefully we could get a response, because I have a real big problem with Christian Prince.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, can I say this really quickly? I'm gonna sum up my issue with him and the people who keep borrowing his argument. I'm not sure if it originated with him. I'm sure it originated with the last pseudo scholar before him. However, the whole idea that the verse in which the Messiah is mentioned and it starts with the verb ittakhadu, I can't recall exactly where it's at the moment. I memorize these verses for worship. I know the verse by heart. I forget. Maybe you brothers could look it up. But I want to talk about that verse. What did you say, Brother Mustafa?
No, I was saying about the adopting son, yeah? Adopting.
However, excuse me?
That was feedback. Go ahead.
Go on. Carry on, brother. Carry on.
Oh, okay. So, all right. So here's the thing. There's two things. Firstly, the way that the order of the words appear in the verse is correct. The way they appear in the website that they keep sharing is correct. There's nothing wrong with that. And that is because that is the placement of the wording in the verse to the best of the ability of the English language. But there's a problem. In Arabic is special because Arabic makes sentences like English sentences, but Arabic verbs mark the object of the verb in the language and leave a marker on it. So in essence, what I'm saying is that there's a verb there that says ittakhadu. They took. Now, who are they? I'm sure that they know who we're talking about, but just for the audience, please look up the issue and understand who are the they. But these are people who have taken other gods besides the true God. So God is saying, or Allah is saying in the beginning of this verse, ittakhadu. These polytheistic people of the past, they took, and then it talks about three objects that they took. There's three objects, and this is where the Christians are going to disagree and say that the verse or the verb is only claiming two objects, that they took the rabbis and the monks, and who did they take them besides as gods? They took them besides the Messiah and Allah. That's how they understand in terms of which object is being attributed to the verb. They claim it's only two. The problem is that every single qualified person, even if they're a kid, can tell you that in Arabic Fusha, the verb marks every single object in the Arabic language, leaving a marker on it. The marker is called the Fatha. I'm sure Christian Prince knows at least what a Fatha is. So this Fatha, in the case of this sentence, are going to be found on the end of three objects. And the fatha is there because the object is mansub. I'm sure they understand that it is in the accusative case. In English terms, a verb has an object, and the object in Arabic changes its form and morphs a little, letting you know when you're reading it in Arabic that this noun is an object of the verb because there's a fatha. You can even hear it when you say the verse. Ittakhadu, they took. At the moment, the verse escapes me. I'm not going to go into the Arabic of the verse, but I'm going to go specifically really quick. Let me just end here because I just want to specify one thing. The word al-Masiha in the verse, everyone knows the word is al-Masihu or al-Masihi sometimes in Arabic, or al-Masiha. In the case of this verse, it's al-Masiha with a fatha, a marker, making it an object of the verb, just like there's a marker, a fatha, on the word monks and rabbis. All three words have a fatha because they're all objects, and they all changed in Arabic morphology to take the fatha specifically. So again, when you're reading in Arabic, the wording or the placement of the words, which word comes after the other, it is correct in English, but they're misunderstanding which are the objects, and they're missing one either because they're just ignoramuses and do not see the fatha and do not understand something 6-year-olds and 7-year-olds understand, that the fatha is on all 3 words at the end because they're all objects in the accusative. They're all mansub. So again, anybody, anyone, except for these liars, if they're lying on purpose.
Brother, what was his point? What was he trying to make? What was his point? I mean,
He's saying that the verse is saying that these polytheistic people, their problem is that they only took 2 things besides God, and they're the monks and the rabbis, but they put the word Messiah with Allah. And they say that these people took, the rabbis and the monks, besides Allah and the Messiah, meaning people were performing polytheism and forgetting Allah and his Messiah should be worshipped. That's what they're implying. Let me tell you another way. Arabic grammar, my brother, Arabic grammar, basic stuff, clearly showing that the word Messiah is not connected with the word Allah or with God in that way. Because in Arabic, we know that the genitive case on the end of a word is showing the relationship of that word with the word that came before it. In this case, the word that's coming before the word God is min, because the verse says they have taken their monks and their rabbis min dunillah, besides God. So min duni is the phrase there that means besides God. Now here's the kicker. This phrase makes the word that's connected to it take a kesra. That's why the name, or take an e sound. For example, min dunillahi. So the word God becomes dunillahi. The last thing I said was he, and that's the e sound. That's the kesra. So we know that the word God is being affected by the phrase before it, besides God. Now here's the thing. If the word Messiah was also connected with God, meaning that they took them to worship them besides God and the Messiah, if it was actually like that, then min duni will affect both of them. And it wouldn't be, as I mentioned in the beginning, al-Masiha, it would be al-Masihi. Min dunillahi wal-Masihi. That would mean that they took him besides God, as gods, besides God and besides the Messiah. But it doesn't read that. The word Messiah is taking a fatha, and it is resembling the last 2 objects that they took as polytheistic gods. So it actually claims itself right there in the verse grammatically. Again, the whole confusion is that only the English placement of the words confuse people, because they don't know that Arabic is deeper than English, and Arabic actually clarifies itself in the grammar. So it's so clear in 3 ways. I just proved it in summary. The word has a fatha, that means that it's something they took as a polytheistic God, and the word isn't there with a kesra, that means it cannot be connected with the phrase min dunillahi, besides God. And the last way we can prove that they're wrong is that if it said that, it would be the only verse in over 6,000 verses that say that God should be worshipped with someone else. So it doesn't make sense, and it's not fair if you read the whole Quran to assume that out of nowhere it's just going to contradict itself in one single isolated place. Please get this Christian Prince, because he's just been finished.
You're right, bro. You finished him. Jazakallah khair. And this is why Allah says that had we not revealed this Quran in Arabic, then the people would have said, we don't understand it. This is in clear Arabic. This is why the Arabic language itself is so clear that CP and his godfather, Zachariah Butrus, that fat pig, sorry to say it, he copies from Zachariah Butrus, the Egyptian fat pig, who's migrated to USA now. He knows in Egypt that he wouldn't have had no chance of even living, so he migrated to USA, your country, and from what's that? CP he copies from him.
What is his name?
Zachariah Butrus.
Zachariah Boutros. I'm not familiar.
He's about 86 years old. He used to do all of his shows in Arabic in Egypt, and he used to do what CP says. He's already made those lies up, but he got refuted. So many Muslims, Muslim teachers and Muslim students in Egypt, they've made videos in Arabic and subtitled English, etc. And they've refuted Zachariah Buttrus like heavily. They've refuted him. Muslim, even there's even an article where an alim, teacher, professor, challenged Buttrus and said, I challenge you for an open debate, but Buttrus rejected it. He said, no, if I go for a debate, then your people are going to attack me and all of that. He said, I promise you, I give you full security, nobody will attack you. You and me, we have a one-on-one debate, but Zachariah Buttrus rejected it. Zachariah Buttrus, whatever he says, CP copies him in Arabic, and then CP allows Sham Shimon, David Wood, all of that, he gives it to them. And he kind of like twists everything, so khalas.
Let me make one statement really quick, and then I'm gonna let you go. I'm sorry I even stopped, but one thing I said at the end, I got the number 6,000 confused with 60,000. I meant to say 60,000 in the heat of the moment. The Quran is over 60,000 verses.
Subhanallah. Yes.
So, in regards to Sam Shimon, Mustafa, this past week, had someone by the name of D.L. Tate contacted me. Matter of fact, during the debate on Sunday with Brother Kareem and the self-proclaimed Christian prophet, Olga Yates, this D.L. Tate contacted me, asked me, would I mind if Sam Shimon comes into the platform? And I told him, sure. In my mind, I'm thinking, that's probably not going to happen. We're in the middle of a debate. And so I'm just, in the text, I told him, sure. Well, he didn't want to do it until midnight. And I'm thinking, okay, well, we're not going to, the debate's going to be over 2 hours before that. We're not going to do that. So I really didn't take it serious. But nevertheless, this person kept contacting me, wanting us to engage Sam Shimon, right? And so brother Kareem and I had a discussion about that, but I found it was interesting that this person who also functions with an anonymous ID, this BL Tate, has an anonymous ID. It made me think, okay, maybe this is Sam Shimon himself that's created this fake ID, because this person kept talking about Sam Shimon so adamantly, as though my point being is that we can't trust anything that these people are saying with these anonymous IDs. It allows
expect anything from them, brother, because the one example I just got that explanation that two Arabs, because Sam Shimon is Arab and the other guy is Arab, so either they're so ignorant that their Arabic is below 6th, 7th graders, what they learn in school, right? So common, they cannot read the Arabic text and understand what's happening, right? Or they're clearly understanding it and they're just saying, oh, this is a great time to confuse them because the wording is as it appears. But in Arabic, the verb leaves marks. The phrase min duni leaves marks. And so it's so clear in any Arabic verse what is going on grammatically. That's why I speak upon knowledge like in this way, and they're just taking the opportunity. So I'm not sure which one is worse. If they're so ignorant that they didn't know that in reality, they have an excuse, but they talk about Islam, or that they know it and they're so evil in their hearts that they say, we don't care that we know that he's right. They're right about this verse,
but we know that though, bro.
It's a confusing word construction. They use it to their advantage.
Right.
CP has admitted that CP. We have videos where he can't read the Quran clearly. He makes mistake in reading the Quran. CP himself does that.
I challenge that guy, brother. I challenge him to read not one verse, one page. One page is about 2 minutes. One page of Quran with tajweed. Tajweed, they love to study anything bad about Islam, but a basic science like tajweed, they have no idea why it's there, what it does, how it clarifies, how it intensifies, how it beautifies the Quran. They have no idea what tajweed is. So I know they can read as Arabs anything written with Arabic letters, but Quran in particular has an art and a science to even reading it. And I guarantee, brother, I challenge him. $5,000. We can both read one page, and we're gonna judge who made a mistake, one mistake, and we're gonna also judge it on who, who was more fluent. All of this can be done, brother. We can show them that clearly that with this example, what they've done with that verse, it's so easily refuted, but it really shows, even to an honest Christian, that these people are evil hypocrites, because Arabic itself clearly shows that they're lying, but I don't know if they're lying on purpose.
Yeah.
Allahul Musta'an.
We're getting a little bit of feedback at sometimes whenever you're talking for some reason.
Yeah, I apologize about that.
I'm not sure why, but we can make out everything you were saying, but it's getting some feedback
Absolutely.
there.
Sorry.
Where are the Christians at? How comes they're not joining in?
Good question. Good question.
I wouldn't be surprised if they were listening. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Let me fix this here.
I put it on mute just temporarily, Brother Kareem. The interesting thing about Olga Yates, the self-proclaimed Christian prophet, he came in the last couple of nights, but he's so insulting. Last night, the discussion ended because he called me a liar because I presented some information to him about the Nazarenes that I mentioned earlier in this discussion, the Nazarenes of 62 AD, and Professor Samuel Stern with Oxford University, and what he discovered in a manuscript that he discovered regarding the Nazarenes and what they believed. Anyways, once again, because he was frustrated, a sure sign of defeat in a debate situation is when the person starts attacking the individual instead of attacking the argument. So instead of him addressing what I told him, I'm a liar and I'm making stuff up and I'm just a liar, and so it's just a sure sign of a person who has no legitimate defense for the argument that they're trying to present. But in regards to Christian Prince, if you go online, you'll find it probably amusing that there's been so many videos made about me by Christian Prince as well as his followers. They've accused me of having gone to prison, which I've never stepped foot in a prison. I've never been convicted of a felony, but somehow I'm a felony. I accepted Islam. Matter of fact, I've had an atheist program say the same thing, that I accepted Islam in prison. I've never been to prison, but somehow they believe that I've been to prison. They've made video after video of me, and the times that I've called in, I've called in, and I do it purposely. It's well thought out, and I do it for a reason. Some of the things that he says that are so disgusting that I call in, and I purposely call in with the intention of disrupting his program. So one video I called in, I said, and I'm trying to disguise my voice, but it's not a very easy thing to do. And I say, yes, Christian Prince, I'd like to reject Islam. And he said, oh, you like to reject Islam? Why do you tell me you like to reject Islam? Tell me why. And I said, well, I'd like to reject Islam, but I'd like to reject the Islam that is presented by you and groups such as ISIS. I'd like to reject that Islam. That's not true Islam. And so in the course of the conversation, that was one issue, but another time I called, and he was asking who this is. He says, "Is this Kenny?" I said, "I didn't say my name is Kenny," because I didn't say my name is Kenny. And
brother, he has all the time in the world, man.
Yeah, if you're a Muslim and you call that program, call his show, you're going to wind up being a potato. You're going to wind up being a donkey. You're going to wind up being an Abdul anyway. So it doesn't matter what your name is. He's going to give you one of those names. He's going to give you all of those names before you wind up logging off from that program. So the name is irrelevant. So I told him they tried to accuse me of lying, but technically I wasn't lying, because I told him I didn't say my name is Kenny. I don't know any Kenny, and I don't know any other Kenny besides me. So those two statements, I didn't say I was Kenny, and I don't know any Kenny besides me. It was already well thought out before I even called the program. But well,
he might have a jinn working for him.
But they've made so many videos about me, and to me it's comical, because all they're doing is they're helping to create a platform for me. Alhamdulillah.
But why does he call himself Prince for? Like,
I have no clue. You talking about
Prince. I
Christian
mean,
Prince? Or you talking
Even bigger question is, why has he never shown his face if
absolutely.
it's an
he's
ugly
only
pig, that's
bringing
all.
information in a kind way as Christians do? There's a lot of Christian debaters, but he hides. That's because he's made a mess of his name, and he knows that he's been so disgusting with people that he's not a normal Christian debater. That's why he can't show his face.
Yeah.
All
But,
normal people like
no,
us show
you're
our
right.
face on a regular
He
because
needs to wear a
we're not doing
hijab. I
anything
mean,
wrong.
he needs to wear a hijab. I mean, he's a dog. Have
Well,
you read Mark
that show
3:22? By the way,
is basically, it's just a comedy show. That's all that it is. That it is at this point.
Yeah.
no, you're right, brother. He is. He is a joke. Read
just-
Mark 3:22, where it says, "But the teachers of the religious law who had arrived from Jerusalem said to Jesus, 'He's possessed by Satan, the prince of demons.'"
Yeah.
So I suppose he's the prince of demons. CP. He's
Well,
the
I always refer to him as the modern day Abu Jahl because he's, he's
No, he's even worse, brother. He has
Yeah,
no power except online. At least Abu Jahl had actual status.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Well, that's true. That is true. That's true. Yeah, and once again, it boils down to these anonymous people. I talk about this in my book. These so-called ex-Muslims, these people who are functioning with anonymous IDs, and it gives them a platform with the advent of modern technology and social media, gives people a voice that wouldn't have a voice otherwise. And they're so disgusting with the things they say. They have to hide their face. They have to go on, anonymously. And you'll see. Keep that in mind. Most of the people that you see in these groups that are making these comments, check their profile, and you'll see they post no photos of themselves,
No.
and so they hide their true identity, and so it allows them to say anything and everything without being held accountable.
Exactly.
And so we got to keep that in mind and stress that point to people that are in those groups, because unfortunately people accept anything and everything they see. Especially, like I told you about this Stephen Goebbels stating that if a lie is told 1,000 times, eventually that lie becomes the truth. And people see these same comments over and over and over again, and they legitimately believe that these things are true. And so we have to find these people, got to target these types of people, and hold them accountable, and make a friendly offer to them. Not doing it. We don't want them to think that we're trying to attack them. We're not trying to attack. Obviously, whenever we're talking about Islam, we're always on the defensive. So even from the days of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what were they doing? They're always in defensive battles. And so I can't, like we talked about last night, the objective is we're not attacking Christianity. We're not attacking Christians. We're not talking about the God they worship, meaning Jesus, the Son of Mary. We're not trying to be derogatory, but we're trying to share the truth and the beauty of Islam from a defensive posture. And sometimes from that defensive posture means that we have to be proactive, just as the Muslims were in the days of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When you see a caravan of all your stuff being cameled down through the desert, and it belongs to you, well, somebody, the logical thing is you're not going to allow someone to come into your home and just overtake your home and start loading stuff up on U-Haul trucks. If you have an opportunity to stop this from happening, you're going to stop them from doing that. In the same token, and from that same state of mind, as a defense of Islam, that's why I do what I do. Strictly, that's why I do what I do, as a defense of Islam, and try to engage these people and write these books and write the blog and do the videos and do everything that we're doing from a defensive posture, to try to say, no, what you think what you think is correct is actually far from it. So stop denying. I mentioned that in the book. Stop denying claiming what Islam is, while how did I say in the book? Basically, people believe that Islam is something that it is, while denying, believe that it's something that it isn't. Rather, they believe that Islam is something that it isn't, while denying what it actually is. That's what I say in the book. So they're denying, they're making claims about what Islam isn't, but they believe what they believe. They truly believe this, but at the same time, they're denying what Islam actually is.
Yeah.
And so this is
No, but you know what it is? It's as bad as saying that ex-Muslims, so-called ex-Muslims, they tend to say, oh, Islam allows violence, killing, and all of that. and then you're like, okay, wife beating and marrying your daughter and rape and all of that stuff for Allah. And next minute you're like, okay, so you're an ex-Muslim. So how many women have you raped, and how many people have you killed, and how many women have you, as your father raped, and did your mom and your sister get beaten? They're like, no, everything's okay with them. I mean, they're just sick in the head. They just don't understand what they say because they corner themselves each time they speak. And this is what I tend to like find out. Subhanallah. And again, with all due respect, whoever's listening to this, when a Muslim, when someone, an ex-Muslim, when he turns to be a Christian or an atheist or any other faith, have you realized how they become liars, and how they like, how shaitan, like proper lie, takes control of them because they blatantly lie. You know, it's openly they lie. They just make up stuff like, as in like, it's you've never heard of.
I'll
I
be
mean, when
honest.
I was a kid,
Go ahead.
subhanallah, I've
No,
never heard of the idea of man beating his wife, or marriage this, and it's never, we've never had these kind of things going through in masjid, in school or Islamic circle. Area that I'm from, subhanallah, mashallah, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of Muslims. I'm from East London, one of the highest populated Muslim areas in UK, East London. Subhanallah. And we've never been taught of any violence, any aggression, anything like that. Subhanallah. And I've never heard from Muslim people saying about doing bad stuff. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
where do they get these ideas that we're taught from young age?
brother, I have no clue.
I don't know, but let me jump in there. Just give me 60 seconds, because
Mhm.
both of you brought up some things in my mind, and there's two things that stood out that I wanted to address before it's all said and done. One of the things is, you know, as you guys know, we had a debate with our brother who actually turned out to be a good friend of mine. Like, we talk, like, besides debating, that's my guy. You know what I mean? He's a good dude. So that's Olga, right, brother Olga Yates, right? Everyone knows Christian prophet. So he's actually, for me at least, he's okay. You know, in terms of us on the debating, we debate, but we still keep it cordial. Either way, I had taken issue with something that we were discussing, and it falls in line with what you guys were talking about. So yesterday we talked after hours, and we were talking, and I said, brother, listen, a lot of what you're bringing mostly is coming from hadith, number one, and I told you that for me, this is the way I look at hadith and Quran, so be with me on the same level when we talk. I don't accept all hadith, number one. No knowledgeable Muslim should accept all hadith just like because it's well known in our history that we have a science of grading hadith.
Yes.
So we don't accept all hadith. You do. Any hadith that is against Islam, you will accept it, so you don't differentiate. The point is, most of the hadith that he brings are violent, and either he's misunderstanding a true historical fact like a battle, or he's taking fabricated hadith to the limit of what he can conjure up of evil, and then he says the Prophet Muhammad did this. So, but I've been working with him, so now he understands that we don't go into hadith just that simply. The problem is, though, I asked him yesterday to watch with me a little bit of the movie Ar-Risala, the well-known movie The Message. Now, I know a lot of people disagree with watching it or how factual it is.
Yeah.
I think that the gist of the story is there. What I wanted him to see is a visual of what happened in the history of Islam, because he's only had a visual in his mind for a long time of this evil, you know, violent Prophet Muhammad storming around and raping people and killing. So I wanted him to see how it happened, especially the torture that the Muslims went through in the first 10 years, so he understands why they were fighting people who were torturing them and stealing from them and putting them in jail for 10 years. Then I reminded him, and this is the key, one of his biggest problems is that he holds against Islam anything he perceives as violent. Now, as far as the totally fabricated hadith, we don't have to talk about that. But the actual historical facts or things that are related to wars, he has to understand that he accepts these same kind of situations in his own book, but he rejects them for my book. It's not the same standard. So violence pushes him away from Islam, but the violence he finds in the Old Testament that Jesus ordered, if he been God since the beginning of time, this violence is okay with him, even though it's 10 times more and 10 times in its description of the cruel nature of war and violence. And I can show, and I challenge any one of these Christian guys to debate me on this topic, and we can put up any amount they want. Which book is more violent, the Quran or the Bible? And I can show you instance after instance. Last thing, if the Prophet Muhammad, he was himself an evil, violent person, then because they see some verses in the Quran that they think is some type of oppressive violence when it's referring to wars, they ascribe that to the psychological nature of the one writing it, thinking that Muhammad is this violent person. But let me draw their attention that if this person who was Muhammad but had an actual violent mentality and his psychological nature seeped out on the pages, then let me ask why every single prophet of the Old Testament that did anything violent in his life, like David, why the Quran purposely leaves out the violence and the descriptive nature of the violence of David, and basically every prophet that had any violence in his life, the Quran goes out of its way to calm down the violence, either eliminating that part of the story. Or eliminating that part of the story, or making it less descriptive, so it's less cruel in the description that you get in your mind. So my argument is this: if the Prophet Muhammad's psychological nature was seeping out as they claim, then what do we have here? Why wouldn't the Prophet Muhammad, if he was all about violence and exciting violence, why wouldn't he take our prophets, and when he tells their stories in the Quran, why doesn't he show them as examples of violent people? But he goes out of his way to take out the violence of our most noble people that we follow and take as examples. So the people Muslims are supposed to take as example, all of their violent parts of their life have been either totally removed from the story and Allah doesn't mention them, or they're said in a way that's not as violent. One example, when David killed Goliath, in the Bible it describes him cutting off his head. Not that he killed him, but what he did afterward in that descriptive manner. The Quran simply says, وَقَتَلَ دَاوُودُ جَالُوتَ. David killed Goliath, and that's the extent of the violent description. The decision is yours, the Quran or the Bible.
Yeah, absolutely. Alhamdulillah. You know, that is the truth of the matter, and the Bible is far more violent, far more sexual, far more. These things are really unnecessary. Things that are described in there, totally unnecessary, and it shows. A lack of just simple reasoning and being fair and being putting things on the scale, especially these Christians that like to follow the James White and him always talking about putting things on the scale. Well, you can't put these things on the scale. We can't reduce Islam and lower the standards of Islam and put it on a scale, because the scale, it's unbalanced. It'll never balance out. And I wanted to say something in regards to Olga. And initially, remember when I told you about the brother, I told you that I actually like him. I like him quite a bit. But you'll notice, like even last night, before we went live and all that, I told him, I said, brother, I want to apologize to you for losing my temper yesterday. I don't want to. I'm not here to argue back and forth. I'm here to share and receive knowledge. And and all those things, to try to make peace. But you see, over and over and over again, he made derogatory comments, not only about me, but about the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, about Allah. He made over and over and over again, and about 8 times he called me a liar. 8 times, simply because he was not familiar with the beliefs of the early, the Nazarenes, and that's not my fault. That's not something that he should hold me, as though I'm the enemy because I'm bringing him the bad news. I'm not the enemy. I'm just the bringer of the bad news. And the bad news is that I gave him some information that he wasn't familiar with. And in his, discomfort from that, he began to attack me personally. And so I try to like the brother as well. And I thought about earlier today, okay, I'll just unblock him and try to open up the door to engage in him and just try to be polite no matter what he says. No matter what he says, I'll counter it with being polite. Allah tells us to argue with people in ways that are best and most gracious, and to no matter what they say, no matter what these people are saying, that we should counter that with being humble and being polite. So, alhamdulillah, speak of the Prophet. Alhamdulillah. Olga, are you there?
I'm here, bro.
Alhamdulillah. Good. How are you today?
How you
Hey,
doing,
bro.
brother? I'm sorry, I got this whole thing making that noise. Do you guys hear that noise, or am I good now?
Yeah, it's only when you're talking for some reason.
You know what? I think it's how close I'm talking. How do I sound now?
You sound fine now.
You sound well. Yeah, you sound good.
All right, I'm gonna stay at this distance, but I'm
So Mustafa,
pretty much. I'm gonna just talk. I'm not gonna turn on the camera because I've said what I said, and like I said, we're gonna cut that part off specifically because Christian Prince isn't gonna watch us the whole time. He goes live for like 8 hours with his nonsense. But I want my challenge to go to him because can I just end off with that whole situation, brother? To be honest, this situation that he's done with this verse and how he's pushed it and how he got other people pushing it, I'm telling you that we can bury his career with his
You can't bury my career, brother.
because it is so clear that he's either lying or he's so ignorant that he hasn't studied Arabic that 6 and 7
No, brother.
year-olds know.
Brother, let me tell you one thing. You went into a debate and you gave me the debate by what you say. So
Were you listening just a moment ago when I explained the verse again or no?
he thinks that you're talking about him.
No,
he's
no.
talking about
Oh,
Christian Prince.
Oh, he's talking about Christian Prince.
Yeah, brother Olga, not you, brother. You my guy. I like I'm not going at you like that.
I don't.
Yeah, you know me, brother. You know me better than that. I wouldn't go at you just straight away like this on that hardcore. I'm just mad at an Arab that either didn't know what I explained, and it's gonna come out. Trust me, because I just told Kenny I'm gonna explain it one more time. We're gonna cut this section up. We're gonna give it to you. You're gonna show it to him. And
I'm not into this.
We're gonna, huh?
I'm not into this to talk about that because there's nobody here to represent me.
No. I was just saying if you would please. But I'm gonna get to it.
I'm not gonna be a part of this.
No. I understand. You gotta get out of the way of the. You gotta get out of the way of that train because you know it's coming. So I'm sure you want to disassociate yourself with that whole blunder because it's a blunder that 6 and 7 year olds, literally millions of Arabs, anyone who has studied Arabic in the smallest of ways knows exactly the terminology I use. I broke it down and I said the markers on the ending of Arabic letters show who are the objects in that verse, and they took advantage because the actual way the verse is structured says the English understanding, but the Arabic is even clearer than English. And of course, like I said, at the very least, they should have been fair enough to say, how could a book speak that God has no son over and over and over and over and over again, but in one single isolated place, he's going to contradict himself?
But as I say, brother,
worship,
as
brother,
I say,
that's no logic whatsoever. So I don't understand how he either didn't know things that 6 and 7 year olds knew, or why he knew and why he was just lying for Jesus.
For Jesus. Nobody have to lie for Jesus, man. Jesus take the lead long time ago, brother.
No, I'm just saying these are the options because in
No, but hold on,
brother
Kareem, 1 second. Christian prophet. No, you're saying nobody's lying for Jesus.
I said nobody have to lie for Jesus because Jesus already taken the lead, man. The prophets of old prophesy about Jesus. Jesus came and fulfilled exactly like the way they prophesy. So no one have to lie for Jesus, brother.
Okay, hold on, Christian prophet. When you say the prophets of old prophesied about Jesus, which prophecy are you specifically pointing at?
Many prophecies, brothers.
Just give me one.
Isaiah 53,
Does
Daniel
it say,
7,
no, no,
verse
no,
14.
does Isaiah 53 say Jesus?
Messiah, you're talking about the
Okay,
Messiah.
okay, okay. Does Isaiah 53 say Jesus? I just want to simply know that. Forget Messiah for now. Does it say Jesus?
All the verses in the Bible that you guys
Okay,
are.
listen, my brother,
But
I'll
brother,
ask you.
don't confuse this, brother. Let
My
me
brother,
answer.
listen, my brother.
Let me jump in. Let me jump in. Wait.
Listen,
Stop.
I will
Time
leave.
out. Time
My
out,
Wait,
brothers.
brother, hold on.
Let me
My
say something.
brother,
Time out.
let me,
Brothers.
I will walk out right
1
now.
second,
Brother,
one,
time out. I'm gonna lay the ground rules before y'all go into this. All right,
Yeah, because
let brother Kenny take control. He's the moderator. Y'all gonna get into this discussion. Each person gets 2 minutes,
this brother coming with. I'm not going to be in
and
this
we don't have to talk over each
all
other.
I'm saying, no, listen, hold on. All I'm saying is, I asked you a question, and I rather you either say yes or no. Does
And I'm going to answer with wisdom. All the verses that you Muslim are using to say Muhammad.
Listen, I'll mute you for now because I've got authority. Forget about Isaiah 50 about wisdom. I am asking you, does Isaiah 53 say Jesus? Simple, yes or no. Yeshua, Jesus, anything. Does it say yes or no? That's it, simple. I'll mute you now.
It doesn't have to.
Okay, so it doesn't have to. Okay, fine.
No.
Okay, now we go to the second step. So you've completely said it doesn't have to, meaning it doesn't. Now we're gonna go to step
As
2.
long as it's mentioned in the Messiah, it doesn't have to say Jesus, because Jesus is the Messiah.
Okay. Where in Isaiah 53 does it say Messiah? Show me. In Hebrew, show me.
Everybody, all Jews know that he was leading to the Messiah.
Okay. Show me. Okay. Show me which Jewish.
Show me in before you do all that, my brother. When you go to Deuteronomy 18 and Deuteronomy 15, show me Muhammad in there.
Well, I never said it needs to be.
But all you Muslims say that he's talking about Muhammad.
Wait.
Not all of you Muslims. I don't say that.
Let me mute you again because you're not letting me talk. You keep on overruling me. I never said about Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. All I said, is Jesus mentioned? And you said all the Jews say it's the Messiah. Sorry, sir, not all Jews say that it's Jesus the Messiah. Secondly, I don't know.
Salvation is of the Jew, brother. Salvation is of the Jews.
Hold on.
Not of the Arabs.
Listen to me, brother. I don't know how much you've read Jewish literature. I don't know how much you've read. You probably read so much more than all the Jews in the world. You probably have. And I respect that. But I'm asking you simply, according to how many Jews can you name me? How many Jews in the whole Jews, the Orthodox Jews, that claim that your Jesus is that Messiah? And how many Jews claimed that when it meant about the sins being taken of the nation, it meant Israel, the God is speaking about the nation of Israel.
Brother, according to your Quran, we are not to follow Orthodox Jew. We have to follow the ones that follow Messiah.
According to who?
According
to your Quran, they're not supposed to be following
Orthodox
Jews.
Stay away from the Quran. You know that. You've experienced that.
According to my Quran, we are supposed.
According to your Quran, the ones that follow Messiah, we are supposed to listen to, not the one that.
Now you're varying yourself because now you got to bring the verse.
Don't show me the verse.
We're gonna show the verse. We're gonna see the verse.
Before you, whilst you look for the verse, now we'll still continue.
You know what's happening, my brother? He assumes that attribute must be in the Quran.
I don't need this. I don't need this gang banging, man. I'm a walk out if I need all this gang banging. We are 3, 4
Muslims. Hold on. Okay. You know what? We'll listen. Christian prophet will mute us.
I told you how I want the rule to be before I came into this discussion.
Forget your rules.
All right. I agree.
I'm gonna walk right out right now and leave you guys.
Listen. You can run out if you want to. Before
no. He asked me that. To be fair, he asked me to set up. I think he said 4 or 5 minutes each instead of.
You know what?
Talking over each other.
You know what? Khalas, let him go. You know what? He got caught out. He knows.
Did he leave? Oh, yeah, he left. I'm gonna get him back. I'm gonna call him. I got it.
He knows
I'm gonna leave real quick. I'm gonna get him back. You guys go ahead and ponder on what was said, and I'll be right back.
Well,
I'll only be it's come out to 2 o'clock now.
He's
I'm gonna be on for another few minutes, and I'm gonna leave. But I'll tell you one thing. When he says Isaiah 53, it really pisses me off because Brother Kenny said as well. He said, listen to Rabbi Tovia Singer. Rabbi Tovia Singer has written in a 2-volume book regarding Isaiah 53.
Yeah.
There's, if not one, there's probably 10,000. If not 10,000, there's probably 20,000. If not 20,000, there's probably 50,000 rabbis, Orthodox rabbis and Jews who said this prophecy in Isaiah 53 does not apply to Jesus. What's the prophecy? That he will die and he would not speak a word and he'll die for the people. That could apply to Martin Luther King. What happened to him? He was standing up for his people. He got shot. He didn't speak when he got killed. He wasn't a good-looking man, with all due respect. You know, if that's what we're going to take. So it could apply to Martin Luther King. What makes you say Martin Luther King is not Isaiah 53? How can you prove it to me? Where does it say Messiah? And then he says,
I think
"Oh,
I
no,
know
it's
what
the
James
Messiah."
White would say. I've been looking at him for so long. This guy's so slippery. I know exactly what he would say, but continue.
What would he say?
Well, ask your question. Just pose it to me. How you said it.
About this, this could apply to Martin Luther King when Martin Luther.
He would say, like he always wants to refer, which is true in the Quranic concept, because the Quran is by one author, but he'll say read the whole Bible, forgetting that the Bible is written by many people with differing views, but he thinks he sees some type of wholeness in it, and he'll say in the whole Bible the context would make it more likely that passage was speaking about Jesus than someone coming many years later and
No,
had no
it wouldn't,
connection
bro.
with the
It
Jews.
wouldn't. You know what? This passage, Isaiah 53, continuing context from Isaiah 52, has been scrutinized so badly that Christians themselves, that learned Christians, they don't want to bring it up because they know that this text has been. That's why did I say to him? I said to him, I don't know how many Jewish Jewish literature you have read. I said, you've most probably read so many. And then he said, oh, I don't believe in what Jewish literature, the Jews say. The Quran say you have to follow the Jews who follow the Prophet. So and so. And I'm like, what? He switched it. I was going to ask him, show me from Jewish literature where Jesus is mentioned. But I can pull out the Talmud now from online. And I can show him what the context and what the pretext and what the explanation of the rabbis are, Talmudic rabbis. And they don't talk about Jesus. They themselves talk about the sins, the nations of Israel, how they're being punished, and how the forgiveness. And so it just doesn't even apply to Jesus in a way.
Mustafa, this is the brother that I contacted you about that was saying he wanted to debate you about the blood atonement and all that. This is the brother, and he just simply reacts in emotion.
Brothers, I'm sorry. He's gonna come back. I'm texting him right now. He's gonna come back. But this the thing though. He made a point, and I can see the logic behind it. Not about this, but earlier we were talking, and he just asked me just on a one-on-one before all of this happened that if he comes tonight, because me and Kenny usually are double teaming him, meaning I will speak for 2 minutes, then Kenny, and then he has to really respond to 2 minutes from both of us in only 2 minutes. So he just asked for, since he's speaking to 3 people, that he would have, at least double the time. So each of us will have 2 minutes to question and to say our piece, and then he'll have 4 to respond to all 3 of us. If that's okay, he wants to come back in.
Okay.
Sure, that's great.
All right. So I'm gonna tell him we all agree.
Where you guys get this Mustafa Ahmed dude from? Is it the dude that talking? Mustafa Ahmed dude? Because that dude don't know nothing.
Brother, let me address you before he
No. Before I want to address everything before.
No, but I want to tell you, brother, nothing
I
personal. It's only, I know you're emotional. That's good for entertainment, but it's not personal.
Quran 3 verse 55 is not talking about people who doesn't.
All right, get into the information. Go ahead.
So you see, your Quran is saying
your 4 minutes. Here's your 4 minutes.
Yeah, start his time.
Quran 3
He's gonna tear into us right now.
I'm talking about Jews who deny Messiah. So you see, when you come with your dumbness and come into this thing, I don't want to talk to nobody dumb tonight.
You got your time. We're silent. You good.
Right. I don't want to talk to nobody dumb tonight. So if
Okay, listen, Christian.
All right, let's talk about the movie you've seen.
Let's talk about the movie. Listen, you dumb idiot. Get out. You're
Yeah,
dumb,
you're dumb,
idiot.
bro. You're a dumb man.
You're
So
dumb like
don't
you're
be
God.
acting like
You're dumb like
you can't
God.
do
You're
it.
My brother,
dumb.
Dumb.
we'll change the
Dumb.
subject. It's upsetting you. Obviously, we'll change it. We'll change
Yeah,
the
you're
subject.
dumb. Not because I don't like to talk to dumb people.
Okay,
Let's
tell me about the movie. The movie, brother. Let's talk about the movie.
Christian is
That's
a
Right.
funny
it.
thing. That is a bad
That
thing.
dude is dumb. That Mustafa
Oh.
Ahmed is a dumb boy.
All
Okay,
right,
okay,
my brother. You may
okay,
debate him. We're gonna set up a debate if you feel like that. But let's talk.
Because at the end of the day, Torah 3 verse 55 is talking about the people who follow Messiah, and then this idiot come
All
talking about
right,
Jews
my
who
brother.
deny
Okay, we
Messiah.
don't want
I don't want to hear this
trouble.
idiot
We
for the
don't
rest of the night.
want that. As friends,
listen.
Okay, I just muted everyone. I'm just going to try to get control just briefly. And once again, we have insults being shouted for no reason. You know, we can have a civil discussion and try
Yeah,
to.
but when I'm having a civil discussion, I want people to be
Just hold on.
civilized.
Hold on 1 second. I put everyone on mute. All right, so let's be civil with one another and not insult one another, not call anyone names. Address the argument. Don't attack the person. Attack the argument, but do it with logic and reason and with decency and integrity. So we can start fresh. We can change the subject, or we can pick up where we stopped there and give Olga 4 minutes to let him say anything he wants to. But just simply don't insult people. You don't know much about the brother Mustafa, and he may be.
Okay, this is what I
smarter
want to
than
say.
you. So
4 minutes. I want to say something.
okay, well let me
When I came
time
into
over. Let me start your time over. I want to give you a good.
when I came into this discussion, you know what I heard? Talking about, I thought he was talking about me at first, but then I realized they were talking about CP. So at the end of the day, what I heard talking about CP is that he is lying to promote Christianity, and that's why I said Jesus doesn't need no one to lie for them. But see what the brother do, that Mustafa dude did the same thing, because at the end of the day, when I said your Quran promote the people who follow Messiah, what did the brother say? Show me in the Quran, like he's not the one who should be master of his own Quran. When you read Quran 3 verse 55, it's talking about the people who follow Messiah. So when you're using people who deny Messiah to promote Islam, what are you doing? Same thing that you claim CP is doing. You see what I'm saying? And that's what I say, this dude is a hypocrite and a fool. See what I'm saying? And if I knew there was somebody like this on this end, I would never come on here, because it seems like something is a coup. And when you have people like him in the coup that you have, you never get nowhere, because at the end of the day, I could read the verse right here. It's on my computer right here. He says, I will make those who follow thee, mean follow Messiah, superior to those who reject faith. So that then here is this brother using people who reject Messiah to promote Islam. What is he doing? He becoming just like the person who he's talking about, CP. Here you are talking about CP, you know. And he said, and the Quran go far further and said, and they became the one who prevailed. So who should we believe in? People who are following Messiah, not people who are against Messiah. So you see what I'm saying? So when you say, oh, show me one Jew who believes this, I'm going to show you a million people who believe that that's talking about Messiah, who believe in Messiah. So if you're using people who don't believe in Messiah to out the fire of Messiah, I can't talk to you, because to me you're stupid. So I'm saying you're not on my level, so I cannot talk to you. The reason I talk to the brother Kareem is because I see something kind of just in him and fear in the way he deals with things. If you are unfair, I'm not dealing with you. I don't even want to hear your voice. That's the way I deal, because what? You know, this is people life you're playing with. This is not a joke, bro. You take it for a joke. I don't take nothing for a joke. I sit with my brother at night and we talk about different things. You know, he gave me a movie to watch. And I said, you know, this is his life. This is what he see as his life. You know, we don't come with this hypocrisy where you trying to use unbelievers to prove. It's like you're using an atheist to fight against the Messiah. Are you going to use an atheist belief to fight against Messiah? You see what I'm saying? You're going to use an unbeliever. It's a take back the Jews.
How you doing, my brother? This is Kareem. We were just discussing. Yeah. So I wanted to just give you a really quick understanding of what we do. So basically, I'm at home. I'm at home right now in my house at Foley's, and what we do is we just pretty much have a big phone call. It's called Zoom. When you click on it, you'll immediately hear someone talking because they already been discussing. They'll know you're in the room because your name will pop up, but no one is gonna. They won't. I mean, we can't see or hear you unless you, for example, unmute your mic and say hello. But it's really cool, brother. I'm telling you, it's nice, and they're getting into a good discussion right now. So there's a brother in there already named Christian Prophet, but that's just.
It seemed, hey Olga, it seemed like I thought he was responding to you initially, but apparently
No. I understand what he was doing. That's cool.
yeah. So you still have about a minute to go. So
as I say, bro, we have to be, what I do, man. Like, as I said, man, some people, this is a competition for some people, but this for some people, that's their life. And that's why I call the brother a fool, because he's foolish to be coming here trying to use people who don't believe in Messiah to promote Islam. You see what I'm saying? When I see this kind of stuff, I say, let me back out of it, because we're not dealing with sensible people in this thing. And that's what I found, that a lot of Muslims will do anything to promote what they have. They would talk anything. And we could read, there's other verses in the same Quran that you could say, hey, it's talking about the people who follow Messiah. Who should we follow? The people who follow Messiah. Whether you want to say, oh, these are not the same people here, but if you're going to use Jews who reject Jesus to talk about Jesus, you can't talk about Jesus because you don't know Jesus. That's why I say you are a fool, because you don't know Jesus. You're just like here, coming here, trying to win a competition and to shush somebody. Like you're trying to somebody. You can't shoot me, brother.
okay,
I've been doing this way maybe before you were born, bro. You can't shoot me.
That's a minute, Olga. Okay, so Brother Mustafa.
Thank you, brother. Right. You know what? My ears hurt. That's how bad it is. You know what I mean?
I don't care, bro. You back out of this.
You know what I mean? You need to
fire,
mute
bro. If you can't take fire, back out.
You need to mute him.
Brother, let him talk, Olga. Please try to control your emotions. Please.
So let me. Yeah, I've muted him now. Right.
Yeah.
So listen to this joke. What Christian Prophet said, and this is what proves to me that he's not inspired by no Holy Ghost. Probably the shaitan, the devil, is inspiring him, and I'll tell you why. He said, read what the Quran says. The Quran says that those who believe in the Messiah will prevail, but he forgets that the Messiah that he follows is not the same Messiah that we follow. Our Messiah was not killed or crucified, but his Messiah was killed and crucified. So thus, Allah says in the Quran, وَمَا قَتَلُوهُ وَمَا صَلَبُوهُ, i.e., that is, that he wasn't killed nor crucified. So Allah is speaking of the same Messiah who wasn't killed or crucified, meaning those who follow him and his teaching, they will prevail, i.e., those who follow him in the teaching that Allah is one and do not associate partners with him, they will be the successful ones. That's what we are doing, which means we are the successful ones. But you, on the other hand, Christian Prophet, you completely took this text, misquoted it, gross misquote, and what you done, you thought it applies to you. But your God, your man God, was killed, was crucified, was whipped, was spat on, was battered, and the Jews don't accept that. So coming back to Isaiah 53, I'll only say from there, because there's no point arguing with the ignorant. I don't believe in arguing with the ignorant will work, because ignorance from your side shows that you don't have an understanding of Isaiah 53 from what classical Jewish rabbis have said. All I'm going to say is just read Isaiah 53:10 and explain to me what the word zera means. Why is the word zera used? If zera means seed, when is Jesus going to have this seed? What do you understand by that? Let's look into classical rabbis. What does Ibn Ezra say? What does Rashi say? What does Rambam say? You can tell us. You might as well tell us what they say. What does Rabbi Ishmael say? What do they say? What does the Gemara say? What do we understand from this? So you need to tell us how Jesus is supposed to be this figure in Isaiah 53. You didn't tell us. All that you said, I can show you 1,000 people that believe Jesus is the one they're mentioning and all of that. You can show me 10,000 Jews. But the real reality behind it is that those Jews are not Orthodox Jews. So again, going back to Surah 355 that you are blagging and boasting about, it doesn't apply to you. It doesn't apply to you, Christian pagans. It applies to us Muslims. I have to be honest about it because you guys are pagans. The Jews are telling us you're pagans, not me. Imagine the Jews are saying these guys worship a man. And if you worship a man, then you're a pagan. Simple. You believe Jesus is a man. Jesus calls himself the Son of Man. You worship him. You believe he's God. You're a pagan. Astaghfirullah. Simple. So don't use that against me by saying you're calling me names and calling me a pagan. You are a pagan. Hindus do that. They worship Krishna. Krishna is supposed to be a man God, and they believe in him. And they believe that he was a man God. He came on earth, and then he went out of earth again. They worshipped him. They make stones idols out of it. And so, end of the day, you need to start going back and then not acting the big man. And with all due respect, I don't want to be derogatory. I'm not doing any stereotypical, any race, any color, anything. But don't act like this black man, African, or whatever Christian prophet thing. It doesn't work on me. You're acting like, you know, I'm the black man here. I'm going to do it. It doesn't work like that. For us, there's no race or nothing like that. You just need to act like you know. And so coming back to Christian prince lying, you blatantly.
Mustafa, that's your time there.
No, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, Brother Kareem, are you there? Or
No, I go after him. That's what I agree with Kareem. That every Muslim that talk, I need to go after them.
oh, sure.
Okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Right. So this brother come here and he's talking about the Jews don't believe that Jesus would be killed, and the Quran don't believe that Jesus would be killed. But Jesus predicted that anybody say that he's not killed is Satan. But if you go to the book of Matthew 16, verse 21 to 23, you will see something here. From that time on, Jesus began to explain to his disciples that he must be killed. He must go to Jerusalem and he must suffer many things at the hands of the elders and the chief priests and the teachers of the law. And then he must be killed, must be killed. That's what the Bible told us. And he must be killed. And on the third day, rise again. And Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him, saying, "Never, Lord, this shall never happen to you." And Jesus turned to Peter and said, "Get behind me, Satan. You are a stumbling block to me, and you do not have the concern of God, but merely human concern." So anybody who said Messiah was not killed, Messiah already predicted and told us that that person is Satan. So when Muhammad meet that person in the cave and choke him and almost kill him and have him running out like a woman, screaming to his wife, saying, "Cover me, cover me," we already know that was Satan. Muhammad even say, "I am poet or possessed." Muhammad even say in a Muslim 28:14.52.62 that Satan commanded him good command. So we know your Quran doesn't come from a good source. So when you come here boasting about your Quran, brother, the Quran is nothing. Everybody who have sense know that your Quran is nothing. So don't put the Quran above the scripture that exists before. And as I say to you, only the Jews that accept Messiah as Messiah can say anything about Messiah. All those fake Jews that you have endorsing your Quran and making you think your Quran is more powerful than the previous scripture is a bunch of hooligans just like you are. You see what I'm saying? They're dumb just like you are. So you come here with this dumb sense and thinking that you can shut me up. I've been doing this before you, brother. You have no sense here. I said, calm down and let civilized people talk so I can be civilized. You see what I'm saying? You don't have no talk here. You don't have no talk here at all. So when you come here with all this nonsense that you come with, people predict the Messiah that's going to be the final ruler. Daniel the prophet in Daniel 7 verse 14 say that the Messiah would be the final one to have the final rule, and anybody who come after gotta be teaching what Messiah taught. But guess what? Your prophet switch it around and say, hey, Messiah is gonna come back and he's gonna teach Islam. That's a hypocrisy. Messiah is not gonna teach that he was not killed, because Messiah told us that he will go to Jerusalem and he must be killed. He must be killed. So you see, and then he said, anyone who teaches that he was not killed, gotta be Satan. So you come with this little hypocrisy like you can shut me down. You can shut me down, bro. I'm bigger than you. My head is bigger than you. My brain is bigger than you. But you come with all this stuff. So you put me on my arrogant side right now, and my arrogant side will destroy you in a minute. You see what I'm saying? In a minute, my arrogant side will destroy you, your Quran, all your hadiths, and all this stuff. You see what I'm saying? So all this craziness. So you're talking about. You come here and you decided to talk about your craziness, and I'm gonna show you something. I'm gonna show you something. What is even more crazy? What is even more crazy? You don't understand. You got authentic hadith saying that before the pre-Islamic state, they used to worship stone, and you guys still bowing to stone. And you still bowing to stone. You guys still go every day and bow towards the stone that from the pre-Islamic time. So here you are talking about pagan. You the pagan. You see what I'm saying? I don't worship Jesus. Jesus is the man that God became. I don't worship Jesus. Jesus is the man.
And that's 4 minutes. That's 4 minutes.
Can I say something real quick, brothers?
Yes, you go next. Absolutely.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, real quick. I don't want to add to the conversation because I was in my
brother.
own conversation. Because the brother that I was mentioning earlier, he's gonna come in soon. I just sent the link to him. We were just, I think it's their iPhone. So
Yeah, that's me. What's
okay,
going
good,
on,
good.
guys?
All right, great. So this is a newcomer to the whole big phone call
And
that we
who
do
is this
called
brother?
Zoom.
Who is this brother?
This is a Christian brother. This is one of your Christian brothers. He's new, and I was just explaining to him that we're all friends here in reality. We just get together and discuss religion and hopefully benefit each other's platform by having interesting debates, setting them up, and sometimes just hanging out and talking the way we're doing now, respectfully, and sometimes in a timed way. So I told him that he can listen in or talk whenever he feels like it or however he feels. You know, he can come and go as he wills. But
My brother, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you come into this heated thing that goes on because
he didn't hear anything yet. He didn't hear anything.
Okay, I'm ready.
So I'm gonna place everyone on mute for the time being, just to clarify something. Bear with me 1 second. Okay, alhamdulillah. So the Holy Quran, alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen, says to invite to the way of your Lord with wisdom and kind words and argue with them in ways that are best and most gracious. I'm not going to name any names, but I've heard about 15 insults, direct insults from a certain individual this evening, and it's unnecessary. We should try to address the issues and address the points that are being made and not send derogatory comments and direct insults to and towards individuals or their religion or their beliefs or their God or their prophet. It's just not a constructive way to engage in this type of dialogue. So let's not make this just a mockery and just a bunch of nonsense and a bunch of arguing and yelling. There's people that are going to be viewing this, and in regards to people being arrogant, we should set aside any arrogance and any just disdain and just dislike and hatred that it seems to be manifested in conversations sometimes, and realize that shaitan, the iblis, the demons that are working for the shaitan are always on the move, and they're always on the attack, and they're always trying to cause division amongst people. And so let's just simply be civil and not insult one another. It's unnecessary, and it's unbecoming of anyone who calls himself a godly person and tries to walk in the obedience of our God, our Creator. So, with that being said, the Christian prophet, the self-proclaimed Christian prophet, said a number of things that I'm sure my brother Mustafa is looking eagerly wanting to address. So I'm going to allow him to speak next, inshallah, God willing.
That's fine. Brother Kenny, thank you for that. Before I start, can you just unmute Christian Prophet for a second? I just want to ask him. I just want to ask him something, Christian Prophet.
Bear with me just 1 second. Okay, he's unmuted.
Hello, Christian Prophet. Can you hear me?
I'm hearing you, bro.
Okay, brother. Can you tell me about Fathul Bari by any chance?
What?
Can you tell me about Fathul Bari?
No.
You can't. Okay, can you unmute him now, please? Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, fine. Right. So why did I say Fathul Bari? Just a while ago, before Brother Alex got in the room, Christian Prophet was telling me, Brother Kareem, listen to me, and Brother Kenny, he said, I know about your hadith and I will rip you and I will do this to your hadith. Fathul Bari is the commentary of the hadith by Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani rahimahullah. You haven't heard of them, yet you are telling me, you're going to tell me about my hadith and you didn't even know what Fathul Bari is, the book written by Ibn al-Asqalani, rahimahullah. This is the problem. You seem to know everything, but you don't even know the commentator Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani. That's fine. You're telling me about Jesus predicted his own death and that the Jews knew that the Messiah will die, yet he himself is telling us that Peter condemned him by saying, how could this be? But you know what's amazing about this subject, what he said, that Jesus predicted his own death? Apparently the Jews knew about it. He's quoting us from the New Testament. He's not telling us what the Jews of the Old Testament thought of. But the Gospel of John seems to expose his lies. Listen to this. The crowd spoke up. We have heard from the law of the Messiah, the law that the Messiah will remain forever. So how can you say the Son of Man must be lifted up? Who is this Son of Man? So according to the Jews, they know from the law that the Messiah will live and he will not die. So how can you tell me that Jesus is predicting something that they already knew from the law, when the Jews have already confirmed it, that they heard from the law that the Messiah will not die? That's Gospel of John chapter 12 verse 43. Again, John the Baptist, he's supposed to have known that Jesus is the Messiah, but according to the book of Luke, he sends his disciples and he says to them, go and ask him, is he the one, or should we seek for another? So it seems to be contradictory what you're telling me, that Jesus predicted his own death, yet the people didn't even know about it. The people knew that Jesus was going to die, yet when he died, they were shocked that he died. They saw him and they were afraid that what the hell is going on. So please, let's not get into these shenanigans. And then you start using hadith by saying, oh, your prophet went, and then he went running like a woman to his wife, etc., etc. I mean, you just opening up a can of worm that is not going to even work in your favor, my brother. I told you that hadith needs to be explained. What you said about Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam coming down from the cave, it's a historical event that took place, and not the way you explained it, because your explanation was worse than a 2-year-old telling me about a nursery rhyme. Do you see how it works? It's as bad as me telling you that the Talmud says that Jesus committed bestiality and then he had sex with animals. Now, do you want me to believe that your Jesus had sex with animals? That your Jesus believed and was limping, and he was limping and worshipping brick? That he was crucified halfway down his armpit in dung, and lead was poured in his mouth? Do you want me to accept that from the Talmud, from the Jews, what they say? So you're telling me to accept a narration from you about Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which you're claiming to be, yet you don't want me to accept what the Talmud says about Jesus. Come on, mate, don't even try that. So
okay, let me answer to him. Say, I said, I don't want two Muslims speak before I speak. Okay, let me answer to him. The first.
Well, hold on, because he's not finished.
I'm not finished yet. This is what I'm saying. Now he's going to say, let me answer.
Yeah, he still had about 30 seconds left.
Yeah, so he's in a hurry by saying, I'll rip you up. I know this, I know that, I know your hadith, I know your Quran. He's failed on Surah 355. Then he's failed on the hadith that he said. He said that the I don't know what else I don't know, half of the stuff he said didn't even make sense. So you need to be consistent. You said, I know more than you. I'm educated. I've been doing this for years and years. You don't even know Fathul Bari. You don't even know John 12:43, where the Jews said, how can the Messiah die? So you yourself are contradicting yourself, my friend. And this is supposed to be like you representing Christianity, and you're making up lies. So what's the difference between you and Christian Prince?
Okay, Mustafa,
hold on. No, I'm out of this. And if one Muslim speak, if another Muslim.
Brother, hold on for a second.
If one more Muslim speak before me, I'm out. If
listen,
one more Muslim
no one's speaking before you yet. All right, no one's speaking before you. You're jumping in right when he's stopping. You're gonna have to control yourself and have a little bit of patience. Control your emotions. Okay, so
need to answer this, brother.
Listen, brother. Listen. Control your emotions. We have two more.
Control your emotions. Let me answer.
Listen. We have 4 people on this panel. 4 people.
I agree with the brother that the only way I'm coming here is if after each Muslim speak, then I can speak.
No.
Okay, so your brother Alex. So Alex is on the panel. Don't let Alex talk. Don't let Brother Kareem talk. I've been setting us.
My brother, I want to answer this brother because he says no olden prophets speak about the Messiah being killed, and I want to show him that he's lying. I want to show him that he's lying.
Okay.
Okay, fine. Tell us. Show us. Show me the
Okay.
verse.
All right. Let's get into that. In the book of Daniel 9 verse 26, and after 62 sevens, the anointed one will be put to death, and they will have nothing. The people of the ruler will come and will destroy the city, which happened after Jesus was killed. In 70 AD, the sanctuary was destroyed, the temple was destroyed, and he will destroy the city and will destroy the sanctuary. And the end thereof will be a flood. War will continue until the end, and desolation has been decreed. So when you come and you said, I'm no old prophet.
Christian prophet, there were hundreds of messiahs, you idiot. There were hundreds
Brother
of messiahs.
Mustafa, we can't jump in on the time.
I'm ready to go. Don't talk what I'm talking. And you said the Jew says that Messiah was to remain forever. That verse is not saying that Messiah will not be killed. Messiah was saying he will be ascended to heaven. He will be lifted up. So they were saying that he said the Messiah was supposed to remain forever. If that person, whoever said that, but if they had looked into the book of Daniel, the book of Daniel also talk about the Messiah going to the Ancient of Days, going to the Ancient of Days and coming back in a cloud. So you see what I'm talking about? You're just running off your big mouth, talking all kind of stuff. You know nothing about the scriptures. You say you quote something about you call a name of about a Jewish book, Arabic book or a Muslim book that I don't know about. I don't have to know about that to read and understand your hadith. They are plain and straight. I don't have to read and read somebody's interpretation of your hadith. I can interpret them for myself. You see what I'm saying? So all this ranting, you're coming here ranting. Me and my brother Kareem, we have very peaceful debate. But when you have the element of you coming in between talking all your nonsense that you don't know about, you see what I'm saying? As I say, anyone who say Messiah will not be killed is Satan, according to Matthew 16, verse 21 to 23. So plain and straight, you cannot override me and overtalk me. I've been doing this for too long for you to be thinking that you can come here and override me. You don't know what you're talking about. Peace out. Have a good discussion.
Wait, brother.
I'm gonna leave in a second. I'm gonna
cowardice.
leave in a second, guys.
That's
I'm gonna leave in a
cowardice.
second. So you're gonna have all the time in the world. All
No,
I'm
he
gonna
left. He left.
Oh, he left.
Yeah, that's extremely cowardice. That's extremely cowardice. I counted 17 direct insults, disgusting insults, 17 while he was on this panel. And
Brother Kareem, you're laughing. What chapter did he say? Daniel what? Daniel 9, did he say? What did he say? I didn't even get this chapter that he said. He just said Daniel, and I'm like, okay, I know about Daniel, but what is he saying? He adds his own stuff. He says, Daniel says that the Messiah will be killed on this day and on that week and on that month and whatever. And I'm like, okay, there were hundreds of Messiahs.
this is what happened last night. The same thing happened last night with me. I introduced some information to him that he wasn't familiar with regarding the Nazarenes, and he bailed out because he felt uncomfortable when the heat.
Guys, did you hear what he said?
He said,
I don't need a hadith interpretation. I can read it for myself. He's reading English translation. Go on, Kareem, brother.
No,
Hey,
the brother wants to say something.
Hey, what's going on, you guys? I want to know if I could. Forgive me, you guys. I have the flu, so if I'm not, if you hear me coughing or clearing my throat, it's because of the fact I'm still under the weather. But the brother that was talking, is it Mustafa?
Yeah, perfect.
Mustafa Perfect, that's his name?
No, but you said it perfectly. You said his name perfectly.
Oh, okay. Mustafa, so I wanted to ask you a quick question, and then I want to ask anybody who's willing to answer my follow-up question. Well, it's not really a follow-up question. I want to ask two questions, but I just want to make a statement first before I ask the question. Mustafa, you got a really cool accent, dude. Where are you from?
I'm from London.
London. Cool accent, mate. I like that. Really cool accent. I just had to give you props. All right. What scriptures did you bring up? I got John 12:43, That's my first question.
It was John 12:40. Hold on, let me just.
Mustafa, why don't you take 60 seconds and summarize your whole argument and provide for him what you were talking about?
Yeah, that's cool. And I only have like 30 minutes to come out and play. That's the time limit that they gave me.
Yeah, because it's 2:30 here anyway, and it's 2:30 a.m. So I'm going to.
Okay.
But basically, his argument. Okay, so this is how it works for Muslim side and the Christian is that, according to the Muslims, we don't believe that Jesus, peace be upon him, was killed or crucified, as you know, and the Christians believe that he was crucified. So Christian prophet, what he said was, he said that there are many prophecies made about him. So I asked him and I said, name me a few prophecies. So we gave like Isaiah 53, etc., etc. Then he said that the disciples knew Jesus predicted his own death in Matthew 16 because the Jews knew that the Messiah will be killed. And so my response was to say, look, that's according to the New Testament. The Jews knew that's written by the Christian authors. The Jewish authors, on the other hand, they don't claim that the Messiah will be killed or he will die. So there's nothing of Jewish literature to claim that the Messiah will be killed. So how did you come to that conclusion that the Bible says that, where you're excluding what, you're completely dismissing the Old Testament? And then I said in John 12:43, according to the Jewish crowd, they didn't believe that the Messiah will die or he will be he'll live with them forever, according to what they understand from the law. So that's what my argument was to him, that you're making the claim, or the New Testament is claiming that Jesus predicted his own death, yet at the same time John the Baptist knew that he was the Messiah, but he wasn't sure when he went jail. The disciples at the end, when they knew after he was crucified of the New Testament, that they didn't recognize him, they were doubtful, so there's so much going on. If they were so certain that this was supposed to be part of the Old Testament scripture, then they should look forward for it, not that they'll back off from it, if you know what I mean. That's basically.
Let me jump in before Alex, so I could even make it even clearer. And I want to throw one argument in there and clarify that also, if it were that the Jewish Old Testament is so clearly predicting a Messiah that's going to die on the cross, and we know that the disciples of Jesus were the same Jews who read the Old Testament, if it's so clearly saying that this Messiah has to die, and they knew that for years even before they started following Jesus, then it would have been surprising when Jesus told, I believe it was I believe it was Peter, that he had to die, and Peter was shocked, and he said, "Don't say that, Master." And he told him, "Get behind me," saying, the problem is, why would a Jew already expecting, because he reads the Old Testament, that his Messiah has to die, why would he be surprised by the notion that the Messiah has to die? I'm sorry for coming at you for the first time.
Hey, Kareem, I believe at some point both of your the audio on both devices is on. So
Yeah.
we got to make sure that only one of those is on. That's when we get the feedback.
That's probably it. But before I fix that, and I'm gonna mute myself. I don't even want to talk too much. I want to let them get into it. But I also want to say that the reasoning, because someone may ask, why do Muslims have this huge problem with Jesus, and why is it important that we start debating about it? The reason is, in Islam, it's perfectly legitimate for a person to assume that a prophet so great like Jesus wouldn't be killed and God would not support him. Also, we're looking at the Old Testament, assume that the Messiah has to live. That's why Peter was surprised when he was told the Messiah has to die, because the Old Testament as a whole shows a Messiah that's going to pretty much be victorious. God is not going to forsake him. He prays for it not being forsaken, and he's saved. So Muslims believe that it's very important that we discuss it. But we want you also to know, and Brother Mustafa, take Brother Alex, more so as someone just coming to exchange ideas. He's not an expert on Islam. He told me he's not claiming to come in here and be a debater. So he may not even be up on some of the terms. He may be. But, just assume that he doesn't know all of the arguments fully, just so we give him so we don't cloudy something that we're not assuming where he's at with the whole argument. Sorry about that, guys. Thank you.
Oh, good. That's good. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah. So it's not really a challenge. I'm just trying to understand Mustafa's position. John 12:43. I'm reading it right now. It says, "For they love the approval of men rather than the approval of God." And I was just a little bit confused of why he brought John 12:43, saying that they. Wow, what's that?
I think that's still Brother Kareem. Let me see.
Oh, that's me. I'm sorry. Let me work on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so no, I just wanted to know, like, what was so special about that passage that you brought it up to?
I think hold on, I'll give you the correct chapter and verse, because I don't know why I said
it could have
it
it could have been a slip of the tongue, so it happens to all of us, right?
Brother, while we got a second, brother, did you understand my last point though? I mean, if you don't have the answer immediately with you, that's okay.
Yeah.
But do you find it strange that the way you see a Messiah being killed in the Old Testament, if Peter was a Jew reading the same Old Testament, why was he surprised when the Messiah told him he had to be killed? If you're seeing it so clearly, he must have saw it also. So,
right.
why
John
would he be surprised by
12:34.
that notion?
Sorry.
John 12:34.
34. Yeah, it was because I took it and I put it on my notepad, and rather than writing John 12:34, I wrote 43 because I was talking to him and I was just looking up on the verse, and then once I took it on my notepad, I pasted it on my notepad and just wrote John 12. Rather than writing 34, I done the opposite, 43, because he was just shouting, and I was like, gosh, I need to get back to him. And
Oh yeah, I'm just reading it right now. So the crowd then answered him, "We have heard out of the law that the Christ is to remain forever. How can you say the Son of Man must be lifted up? Who is the Son of Man?" Okay, cool. So my second question, it could be to anybody. Just answer your response, Kareem. Yeah, I understand your point and what you're trying to drive home. I want you fine gentlemen to know my position and where I'm coming from. Obviously, I'm a Christian. I believe in the Trinity. There's no other true God but the triune God. And that's, I believe any other religions that fall short of that is false religion. No disrespect at all. I'm not trying to be disrespectful.
no, you're not being disrespectful. We believe your religion is false, so we be straightforward.
And you know what? And I could definitely 100%, appreciate that, about how you guys are being honest about your guys' position. Because of the fact that I really don't talk to a lot of Muslims, I really want to take this opportunity just to ask questions. And again, it's not to trap you guys against the wall, right? I'm not trying to do anything schemish or anything like that. I want to understand your guys' position on what you guys see things, right? So instead of asking,
don't hold back. Just give us your worst question.
No, I don't.
We love that. We love to deal with it.
Cool beans. So I have a question, and anybody can answer it. I really don't mind. What are the hadiths, and how many of them are there?
Okay, but just clarify what are you trying to gain? Just a basic knowledge, because that will probably just be better. If you're just wanting to accept, you don't have a second question behind that.
No.
But if you just want information on the hadith, then scholars already have written. And in this debate, it may be better just we send you a link if you just honestly want to know what Muslims say. But do you have something you're trying to figure out? And there's
no, man. I'm being straight.
Okay, absolutely.
I'm not trying to be schemish. I'm speaking, straight from the hip.
Or shall I? It's up to you, brother. You can.
Well, what was the question again in full? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's all good, bro. So the question is, what is the hadith, and how many of them are there? Because I know that Muslims, there's different hadiths. I'm like, dude, what the heck is a hadith? So, and then from what I was told, that some Muslims don't, like certain sets of Muslims in Islam, they don't you know, they don't accept certain hadiths. You know, they'd be like, oh, that hadith, you know, Bukhari. Oh, no. I'm making that up. I don't know if anyone
Right.
rejects it
You
or
just
not,
see
you
a
know.
discrepancy. Yeah, I mean, you
Right.
see people differentiating between hadith. You're trying to understand why.
I could give you guys what I think a hadith is, and you guys can let me know if I'm right or wrong.
Absolutely,
you know?
my brother. Take your
Yeah.
time.
So I think a hadith is like, it's supposed to be like someone. It's like a book written by someone who is either an eyewitness, a first source or second source of Muhammad, and they're just writing about stuff that's not in the Quran.
No.
That's it.
Okay, Mustafa, you want to split it up and do it a minute each and kind of give out, or 2 minutes each, and just
Oh, you can explain it, bro. I mean, you're the teacher.
No, you started. I don't want to cut you off.
No, you can give a better.
I'll explain it. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah,
Okay.
alhamdulillah.
Okay, so the hadith are you're partially correct. There are words that were written about the Prophet Muhammad. They're the speech of the Prophet Muhammad, also the actions of the Prophet Muhammad. So they fall under what's called the Sunnah of the Prophet, peace be upon him. So that encompasses, the Sunnah encompasses the words of the Prophet Muhammad and the actions of the Prophet Muhammad. So in regards to the hadith this is actually a science. This is a very, very in-depth topic, and it's a topic that not many Muslims are very well versed in, because of the number of hadith that exist. And there are what's called authentic hadith, and these authentic hadith have legitimate, strong chains of narration that go all the way back to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. But within these chains of narration, the people within the chains of narration, their background and who they are, what their name was, where they got their information from, starting with the Prophet Muhammad himself and his direct companions. And from there, his companions told someone else, and then they told someone else. But in these strong chains of narration, each one of these people within the chain are people that are verified to be truthful in their statements. They are people that you know their occupation. Their occupations are documented. Their names, who they're related to, you know, what their status in society was. And so those are the authentic chains of narration in regards to the hadith. And there's also hadith that have very weak chains of narration. And matter of fact, some are absolute just fabrications. They have no chains of narration, or they're hadith that have been sourced from people who are known to be, you know, known liars. And so these are hadith that are rejected by all Muslims, for that matter. But
In other words, Alex, saying that suppose you said something, and then Brother Kareem is your close companion and your friend, and Brother Kenny, so they've taken information from what you have said, they've written it down, and then they passed Brother Kareem and Brother Kenny passed it down to their children or their companion, their followers, and it came down in a chain. Whereas authentically, and we know who they are. Whereas there are sometimes that some people, they get hold of a hadith, a saying, something that you said, Alex, and I just said, well, Alex said last night with a debate with Kenny and Kareem that Muslims are cowards, but you never said it, so I just made it up. So it's false. You see how it works? So there's a science behind it. However, the hadith, remember, the hadith means sayings. I'm sure Brother Kareem is going to give you a better understanding of the linguistic Arabic meaning behind it. But as far as I know, hadith means sayings. The sayings itself are from the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Now, Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he is the Prophet of God. His words are like the best thing after the Quran. After the word of God, you can imagine his words will be the next best thing that we listen to. So his words have got, they can be short in sentences, but the meanings can be great. So they have to be understood from the context, from what Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was speaking from his time and the language that was being spoken in. So it can't be interpreted. For example, I'll give you an example. Suppose I said to you, I don't like pigs because they annoy me when they chase me. I could mean I don't like police officers because they're chasing me. But then, you know, 20 years down the line, someone's going to say, oh, this guy got chased by pigs. But you see how the language evolves?
Right.
It's like that. But yeah.
So I'm gonna repeat what I think I heard, and you guys correct me. So in other words, hadiths are sayings. Hadith means sayings, and they're sayings of what they're sayings of the people who knew Muhammad, and people with credibility, people that were honest. Sometimes you knew their genealogy, maybe, and occupation, and these are credible sources to back up and affirm of the life of Muhammad, and obviously it's not a part of the Quran, right?
No, it's not part of the Quran. So what they saw and what they heard, they wrote
Okay.
it, they noted it down.
Right.
So
And
when they saw,
one crucial
yeah,
thing that we need to make clear in regards to the hadith. The hadith that are considered authentic and that Muslims do accept are hadith that are in agreement with what the Quran would state. So, of course, the Quran is the literal speech of our Creator, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and so what is in the hadith has to coincide with what is presented in the Quran. And what this indicates is that in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us to follow him and to follow the Prophet. And so, matter of fact, last night I mentioned a verse in Surah Al-An'am, verse 7, and it says that there's some verses of the Quran that are clear, and they're the foundation of the book. These are clear-cut verses that are
decisive.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Allah is one; He begets not, nor is He begotten. Nothing compares to Him. These are clear-cut verses, and there are other verses that are ambiguous, and it says those people who have dissension in their heart or seek to cause discourse seek those verses that they can't explain. And so in saying this, the reason I bring this up is because the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was as a prophet of our God, and we believe that all the prophets function in this way. They take the teachings that they receive from Allah, from our Creator, and they explain it to people of various levels of intellect, and they put it in common terms to where they understand what it is that's being said, because we all have various levels of intellect and various levels of understanding. So, and let me give you an example. One brother came to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and this is authentic hadith, and he says, Prophet, oh Prophet of Allah, give me some advice. And he told him, don't get angry, don't be angry. And he asked him again, okay, besides that, and he told him again, don't get angry. And he told him a third time, he asked him again, he told him a third time, do not get angry. Well, this particular individual had an issue with anger. This wasn't but his question to the Prophet was, give me the best advice. And of course, we can't say that, of course, not getting angry is some great advice, but that can't be equated to the best of advice, but it was the best advice for that particular individual. And so all these hadith have to be taken and placed in their proper context, which is why, what period of time was it stated? Who was it said to? What was going on historically? All these things have to be taken into mind and considered. And the things that are in agreement with the Quran, that don't contrast the Quran, we fully accept those hadith. Okay, and especially when
they're certified by hadith scholars as well. They are called muhaddith.
Yeah, and this is an in-depth study from scholars that study the hadith all their lives, and they check the chain of narration, and then they classify if this hadith has got any defects in it. So this hadith, for example, I'll give you a quick another example, Alex, so we can go to your next question. Is that we know that Allah has given 5-time prayers for Muslims. We pray 5 times a day, and this is unanimously agreed. We call this in Arabic mutawatir, which means it's a consensus. It's been agreed unanimously. If you have 50,000 people agreeing that 5-time prayers, and then you have one hadith that said, no, you pray 1 time a day, then you reject that hadith that says 1 time, because the majority is far more agreeable than the minority. Do you see how it works? But it doesn't always apply like that. There are some that you can balance it, but then you have to go again, like Brother Kenny said, it has to match with the Quran. When the Quran says that you worship Allah, don't associate partners, and you found a hadith that says, yes, you can take a partner and associate, then that hadith is rejected. Because a lot of people, they fabricated stuff. Because in order to get attention, they start making up stuff. They start lying. They said, oh, I heard it from Alex. And we know Alex is an honest man. You heard it from Alex? Right, we take your word for it. But then you didn't even say it. You see, so hadith scholars went through them.
And yeah. And
How many? Yeah, how many? Yeah, how many Quran? I mean, Qurans. How many hadiths are there?
Probably authentically there could be about 300,000 or more.
Oh my
400,000.
goodness!
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah. If you
That's a
add up.
lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Remember,
why.
these are the sayings of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. His sayings are short, some of them, but the meaning expand. Yeah, there could be about 200,000-300,000 most. We are aware of scholars that have memorized 100,000 hadiths. They've memorized it.
Yeah.
100,000. So
100,000. Okay. How many? So I believe, and this is, if you guys can answer brief, because I got a follow up question. It has to do with the hadith, but there's like 3 sects in Islam, right? Like Sunni,
yeah,
and
those
there's like
sects. Yeah, I'll tell you quickly about the sect. Those sects never existed during the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It was everybody was a Muslim. Those
Okay.
sects only arise after political rise. For example, after Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they wanted certain sect. They wanted certain leaders, and when those leaders were not elected, they become their own sect, like Shia, and all of that, and Sunni and Shia. But then later on, like 100, 200 years ago, Qadianis came in, like different sect. But those sect are not regarded as Muslim, just the way a lot of Protestant Catholics, etc., they have issues. But we
Right.
have one Muslim. There was no Shia during the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's a challenge. Go to any Shia and say, did you guys exist during the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? And they'll say no. So it always started after Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam because of political rise and all of that. And they consider
Okay.
themselves as Muslims, but obviously they're heretics.
Let
But
me
then,
say
at
one
the
thing.
same time, we
Let
call
me
them
say one
heretics.
thing in regards to that. In regards to the Sunni and Shia issue, you'll find that about 85 to 90% of the Muslims in the world are considered Sunni Muslims. When someone asks me that question, I've been a Muslim for 32 years at this point. I accepted Islam at the age of 17. I'm from Houston, Texas. So I didn't grow up in a situation where sects and all that were important. I'm a Muslim. I follow the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and I follow what's in the Quran. So when someone asks me that question, I say I'm a follower of the Prophet. Just like I just said. But technically, what that means is that we accept hadith that are in agreement with the Quran. And when I personally, if I come across a hadith that seems questionable, I just reject it and I move past it because. And sometimes I take time and I research it and find out what's going on here to be able to address that hadith or answer someone's question about it. But if it's something that's so far-fetched that I know instantly that there's no possible way that this particular thing is legitimate, then I just immediately reject it. And some people totally reject all the hadith and they're Quranists. They only rely upon the Quran, but in the Quran itself, it's telling you to follow the teachings of Allah in the Quran and follow His messenger. And so the only way you can do that is to use logic and say, okay, well, that means that we have to follow the example of the Prophet historically, and that falls under the Sunnah, which also falls under the Hadith, the actions and the sayings of the Prophet. So,
yeah.
What's your next question?
Okay, so I asked, what are hadiths? You guys brought that up. There's over 200 to 300,000 hadiths.
Most probably, yeah. I'm giving the rough.
Right, and that's cool. And then, okay, so, and then I asked how many sets of his. Okay, so the reason why I asked that is because, is there like, okay, so I think Mustafa said, hey, dude, when it comes to like praying 5 times a day, all across the board, that's unanimous. I mean, all Muslims, we all agree, bam, we're supposed to pray 5 times a day, right? Yeah. Is there like any hadiths that is like unanimous? Hey man, like I don't care what set you're from, they all believe that they're all equally, like, let's say out of the roughly 200,000 to 300,000, hey, there's like 50 of them that it's like solid, that there's no beefs, we all agree. And then the rest, there's a little in-house debate.
Let me explain this if I can, please. In regards to this, there are some Shia Muslims that they think that the limit is 3 times a day, and there are some people who think it's 3 times a day. And matter of fact, I addressed this very same question last night, and for one, logic and reason tells us that the more times someone prays throughout the day, the better, right? So obviously, praying 5 times a day is better than 3. But in regards to those 5 times a day, regarding your question, there is a very authentic hadith that's describing the night of the ascension of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And it says that he ascended through the 7 levels of heaven, and he actually went and he spoke to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he spoke to our creator. And upon his descension, he's going back down, and he's greeted by the Prophet Moses, and he tells Moses what transpired during that meeting with Allah. And he tells him that Allah told him during that conversation that to tell the people to pray 50 times a day, because that would be better for them. It's better for them to pray 50 times a day. Obviously, that's anyone with any sense would know that the more we pray, the better off we're going to be if we're believers, right? And so the Prophet Moses, it says that in the hadith that the Prophet Moses told the Prophet Muhammad to go back and ask Allah for mercy. And the reason being because he said he guided his people for 40 years, the followers of the Prophet Moses, peace be upon him. He said he guided them for 40 years in the desert, and because they were so stubborn and wanting to return back to their captivity, and following the pagan beliefs of the Egyptians that had them in captivity for all that time, because they were so used to that by tradition, they kept wanting to go back to it. So they wound up worshiping the golden calf as depicted in the Bible and all those things. So 3 times the Prophet Muhammad was coming back down, and he greeted Moses, and 3 times the Prophet Moses, peace be upon him, told the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, to go back and ask Allah for mercy. And so inevitably, the hadith states that the Prophet Muhammad, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, reduced the number of the prayers to 5 in a day. But he told the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, to tell his followers that for the 5, if they pray 5 times a day, it'll be as if they receive the blessings of the 50, right? And so each prayer is multiplied. So what this is stressing to us is the importance of returning back to our Creator numerous times throughout the day. And the more times that someone does that, and we have the taqwa of Allah, we have the remembrance of Allah in our minds in all things that we engage in throughout the day, the better off we're going to be. So obviously, going to the prayer is extremely important, and that's one of the truths, and that's one of the beauties of Islam. That establishes a constant relationship with our Creator.
Of course. And Brother Alex, coming back to your question about is there any hadith talking about Muslims, about sects, and there's a group of Muslims that are the right Muslims, etc. Well, we don't have to even go to the hadith. We can go straight to the Quran. And there's verses in the Quran. Remember, for Muslims, Quran is number 1. If you read, for example, chapter 6, verse 159, Allah says in the Quran, those who divide themselves into sects do not belong with you. Their judgment rests with God. Then He will inform them of everything they had done. So having sects is haram. We shouldn't even have it. Everybody is one. Allah says in the Quran, a Muslim is like the brother of another Muslim. So we're all equal. Allah says we're all equal, and especially Muslims, we're one. We're equal. There's a hadith that if one part of your body hurts, then if you hurt, then the entire body feels the pain. So we're like one unity, one community. So we shouldn't have sects. Like I told you earlier on, those sects, they started after Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and they started over political issues. We shouldn't even have sects in the first place. Muslims are one. So Hadith and Quran is clear that Muslims are one. There is no sects. There isn't anywhere where in the Hadith you'll say it says you have to be a Shia, you have to be a Sunni, you have to be a Qadiani, you have to be an Ahmadiyan. No, it doesn't have this kind of stuff. We're all Salaf. Like we Salafis. Like we follow the teachings and of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We follow his. Allah says in the Quran, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. We have not sent thee but as a mercy to the whole of humankind. So we follow his teaching. Atiullah wa ati Rasul. Obey Allah and obey the Prophet. This is our goal and objective. Go on, Brother Kareem.
You sure you're done? I don't want to cut you off, but I'm going to be quick about it. You good, though?
Yeah, no, bro. You carry on.
So I want to give an announcement and a formal challenge. I just got off the phone with the Honorable Man of Reason. This is his title, his whole title. The Man of Reason, Christian Prophet. He has formally challenge you to a debate tomorrow, Friday evening, about the issue you guys were just discussing. Do you accept?
That was a bit of a
Let
quick
me
one.
not put you on the line like that, but we'll think it over and we'll
Yeah,
inform the
we'll
people
get
as
back
we
to
go on
him.
Facebook. But he's put the opportunity, not in that direct way. I'm hyping it up, but
Wow.
anyway, no. Oh,
Okay.
okay. Let me
Yeah.
ask. I wasn't
So
hearing everything. So, Alex, if you could you summarize what you've heard from him and what you've been saying, just so I'm on board with what you guys are even
yeah.
talking?
So pretty much my twofold question was, or my question was, how many hadiths? Because the brother was telling me that there's roughly around 200,000 to 300,000. How many hadiths like are unanimous? Like, hey, these hadiths are solid. There's no beefs. Like, you know, because there's some sets of Muslims that will say, hey, you know, we only take, for instance, and I'm making this up, I don't even know, but we only take, you know, Saudi Muslim, you know, and we only take, you know, the Bukhari. We only take these books, but we reject everything else. Is there like a
We
list
can't.
of books?
What it is, Alex? What it is, Alex? We can't. I can't. I mean, specifically give you an exact number of how many hadiths there are. But But as far as I know, Sahih al-Bukhari has 7,000 hadiths listed. Now, out of the 7,000, around 7,000 hadiths, there's 4,000 you can say without repetition. So minus the 3,000. There's 4,000 hadiths there, but if you add all the hadiths, there's about 7,000 because there's repetition ones as well. Repetition meaning that the same hadith has been spoken by another companion.
I'm gonna sound really stupid right now, but I thought Bukhari was a part of one of the hadiths.
No, Bukhari. So Bukhari is the author of the.
Oh.
He's,
Oh, snaps.
Let me also jump in
All
here.
right. Yeah.
All right, so brother, Alex, one thing that I'm not sure if this is helpful to you. I kind of feel like this would be helpful for me to say this. If you're thinking, for example, that there's a problem maybe, or there's a weakness in the Islamic where we get our sources from, because there's hadith and you see people obviously making distinctions between them and you're trying to figure out what's going on, and it could possibly maybe, especially if a Christian has a point to prove it, it could be something in his mind, unless he's upon clear insight, it could be a flaw that he sees in Islam. I want to remind you that the way people distinguish between hadith is not a flaw on Islam. It's actually what every single historian in the world does with historical information. Anything that comes down to us in a written form from the past, any religious text, anything in the world has to be scrutinized by historians, and the Bible has overwent this process. It's called textual criticism. We look at the historical information and we make distinctions. This seems more historically plausible. This seems fabricated. And this is what happened to the hadiths, because hadiths, and let me make something clear too, if I can paint a picture in your mind for a second. The hadiths are stories of the Prophet Muhammad that were important enough for people to initially memorize what he was saying, and some written it down. Why were they doing that during his time? Because he was an important person. Just like Jesus, his stories eventually got written down later on. But if you ask why were they written down, why did people even care about this whole process, it's because the person was an important person for them. So when Muhammad lived, people began to see that his importance, and they also knew that his words were important, because he was claiming not only was his book from God, but even his words commanding and prohibiting on a day-to-day basis, even that was revelation. So they not only written down the Quran during his lifetime, but they started to write down what he said, and the people who couldn't read or write memorized it. These stories were present with the Muslims from the beginning, and then they began to be written down years later, even though they were preserving them, some in writing and some in memorizing in the early stages. It became written down and more set in stone after a few years. However, the phenomenon of people fabricating hadiths made it real important for scholars to do history. The same thing anybody
Oh, okay.
with historical information, we got to make distinctions. This is more plausible, this is not. Why? Because there's certain proofs. For example, if you read a hadith, we're not just picking which ones we like and saying this is sahih, this is correct, this is authentic, and this one we don't like it so much, so it's daif. No, there's indicators in the hadith itself that show how authentic it could be. For example, if there's a hadith that says the Prophet Muhammad worshipped graves, for example, and then you have already read in the Quran that it says don't worship graves everywhere, and it says only worship God everywhere, you could assume upon a historical criteria that it doesn't make sense that this hadith would actually be real when the historical character of Muhammad was known to be a monotheist based upon the book that is attributed to him. So there's reasons why each hadith goes where it goes, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. Not every...
And also, brother, just to clarify as well, that the companions who narrated the hadith, they were really like scrutinized, in sense of like they were examined on who they are, what their lifestyle was. I'll give you an example. One of the like Bukhari, for example, when they went to find out about a hadith, they would try to locate who this hadith came from, and then the chain, obviously. He went to one town and found out the person who narrated the hadith, so he wanted to see who this person was. And he went to that town and he found out, or that village, and he found out that the guy, he tried to bring an animal, like
It was a donkey.
a donkey or something, yeah, or something towards him, but by deceiving the animal, by showing he's got food in his hand. And then the hadith narrator said, right, this man's hadith is rejected. If he can deceive an animal just to bring him close by showing him food, then he can deceive anybody. So we completely disregard him.
Yes, perfect. Thank you so much, because you just reminded me of a key element that I couldn't say in all of what I said because it's such a big topic. But Brother Alex, know one thing that distinguishes Islam, not trying to brag, but just it's the fact that Islam has something significant in the way that we transmit knowledge that it cannot be demonstrated by other faiths. That is that for every hadith, meaning every saying that someone written down in the past about what the Prophet Muhammad either said or did during his lifetime, every saying comes with a chain of men. What that means is it's a list of people who claim they heard it from the Prophet Muhammad. It goes a little something like this. In the beginning of a story of someone claiming they heard or saw something from the Prophet, he has to say something like this: I saw from the Prophet, or I heard from my father that he saw the Prophet, or I heard from my teacher that he heard from his father that he saw the Prophet, or I heard from my teacher who narrated from his teacher who narrated from his father that he saw the Prophet. What am I saying? Every story has to have a basis of why we should believe it in the beginning. This is very unique to Islam. Why? Because the people mentioned inside the names are, first of all, historical characters, and the scholars who took the time to write these hadiths took the time to search the biographies of these people to see if they were living in the same time, if they were actually relatives, what was the status of the person's memory, was he known to fabricate. All of that, they consider it when they grade a saying, whether it's authentic or fabricated. For example, if there's someone in the chain of those men and he was known to have a bad memory, just that by itself takes it away from having the highest grade of being authentic, and it has to be lower than that because there's a defect in the chain. Therefore, we guard ourselves in what we know is historical from the Prophet and what is not historical because of these kind of methods. So it's very interesting, and that's a key element you have to know
and
about.
you know what? I just want to add.
I got like 9 more minutes before I got.
Before you carry on,
sure.
Alex. Just before you carry on, my brother, I just want to add to something to Brother Kareem what he said. Jazakallah for your information. When Brother Kareem said that the Sahabas or the companions of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam were examined, did you know? And I can challenge this. Obviously, you're a brother, so I'm not saying it to you, but I can challenge it to any Jews or Christians, if you want to include yourself, that if they can provide this, we have documentation the biography of 10,000 companions of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There's a book in Urdu called Usud al-Ghaba fi Marifat al-Sahaba. Basically, this has the biography of 10,000 companions of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, their name, their age, were they married, who are they, who was their parent, everything about them. 10,000. You show me any historical figure that you can come out with a following of 10,000 people, and we have their biography. Nobody from the Bible. Forget the Old Testament, New Testament, even recently. This is how deep the Muslims have went when it came to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The preservation. 10,000. Paul says, I don't want to divert, 500 people saw Jesus. You can't name me 25 of them. Forget about 500. Yeah, and we have 10,000 companions. So we have to, this is why we kind of like show ourselves lesson, alhamdulillah. But yeah, come on to your next one, brother. What's your next question?
Yeah, I have like a good 8 minutes before
We'll
before
be taking the questions. Answers.
yeah, so real quick, is the hadith considered to be in the same status, the same level, authoritative as the Quran?
Nope.
Okay, cool. That answers that. Okay, so
but just to clarify that the hadiths have to be taken importantly, because there was a academic study done on the language of the Quran and the language of the hadiths, and how the two are not the same. Just in case people say Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam wrote the Quran or spoke the Quran, they done a study and they found out that both of the Quran and the Hadith are not the same in the way the language is. Language meaning not the Arabic language, the way the text is laid out, the way the speech, the speech is completely different. The levels of the Quran is far more superior. So
Yeah,
just
and let me elaborate really quick, just 15 seconds, even further. The other thing, how you can understand this in an easy way is the difference. The hadiths are, if they're found to be authentic by the grade system, then they carry the same weight as though God said it, because the message is ultimately from him. But the way we look at hadith and Quran is different, because the way it's been transmitted, and also who are the direct source closer to us. For example, what I mean by this is the words of the Prophet Muhammad in hadith, their commands carry the same weight as though God said it. So when it comes to legislation, they are on the same level as the Quran, because ultimately both commands, whether found in hadith or Quran, are both from him. But who are the ones who are actually articulating it? What I mean by that is the Quran is on a higher status, because God and everything attributed to him is, of course, higher than human. So if it's God's speech versus the speech of Muhammad, a human, then of course the Quran is superior in that way. That's why he answered it like that. It's a yes and no question. Hadith are considered revelation from God through the way the Prophet Muhammad lived, so we're expected to abide by it as though God is himself putting a stamp on it. But the way that the wording is, when you read a hadith, since it's not part of the Quran, the actual verbatim word of God, then they're on a different level, because even though there's wisdom in the hadith, there's commands in the hadith, and also ultimately it's from God, God just used the Prophet Muhammad to articulate his will in his own words, the words of a human. So they carry the same weight in legislation, but the articulation of them is different, because one is coming through, it's inspired closer to like what the Old Testament is, the New Testament is claimed to be. It's inspired into a human being to speak the truth in his own words, whereas though the Quran are the actual chosen words of God that he sent to the Prophet to repeat.
That's the longest 15 seconds ever.
Sorry about that.
No, you're all good, brother. Hey, what do you guys think about Malcolm X and the Nation of Islam? Do you guys consider consider them like real actual Muslims?
Let me speak
I
on
have to talk about this
Let-
because let me say something real 10 seconds because I've really seen that in a more up close way. So the Nation of Islam is not technically connected to us. We do recognize that even though they just used the name of Islam and then kind of changed the beliefs, they still did some good for Muslims here, even though they weren't upon mainstream correct Islam. They were trying to find true Islam. They made some differences in the faith, but they actually benefited Muslims in America because by Malcolm X, even though he was wrong in his theology, he gave Muslims a name that was people who were strong, who had discipline, were dedicated. So they're not actual Muslims. Basically, back then there wasn't too much information available. So they took the name. They knew that Africans especially had a big connection with Islam, and they wanted to find the roots there. So they took the name, but they weren't upon the true Islam. I'm gonna give you two examples of why. They say that Elijah Muhammad was a prophet, whereas though we say the prophet Muhammad was the finality of prophets, he coming 500 years after Jesus. The other big difference is that they believe that not only there's a prophet after the prophet Muhammad who was a false prophet, Elijah Muhammad, but they also believe that Allah was an actual man who came on earth, and they had this whole story. Whereas though we all know Allah is an ancient word in Aramaic and Arabic that just means God, and Jesus Christ himself used it as according to Wikipedia, if you look up the word of the name of God in the language of Jesus.
That was a long 10 seconds. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
The Nation of Islam issue is actually one of my areas of expertise.
Really? Oh wow. Okay.
I actually I signed 2 record deals in my life, and my partner in the music business in the first group was a member of the Nation of Islam, and some of the members of the Nation of Islam, they're called the Fruit of Islam, the FOI. And they used to stand posts for us during our shows, even though I was white. And so that was my introduction to Islam, interaction with my partner in the music business, and watching how they carried themselves. But when I began to read the Quran for myself, I realized that Islam is a non-discriminating religion. And so there's where the debates began. Even though I was accepted by them, even though I was white, and it's a pro-black organization, I couldn't go to they don't call it a mosque or a masjid, they call their houses of worship a temple. And I couldn't go there because of the color of my skin. But Islam is obviously a non-discriminating religion, and so there's many things that are different. But overall, the organization, I have a lot of respect for the organization from a social standpoint, where they're trying to uplift and to give strength to the black community and guide people to function in a different way. But what they did is they hijacked Islam, true Orthodox Islam. And you'll see, if you read the autobiography of Malcolm X, which I have, and I do recommend that people do read that, you'll see that when he did take the journey of Hajj to Mecca, he was exposed to true Islam. He come back and his position had changed. He still was a proponent for fighting for for the black community, but he's seen Islam in a different light. He's seen it as the non-discriminating religion that it actually is. So that's actually a great question. I'm glad you asked that question.
Yeah, I just wanted to know, like, if just like I told the brother Kareem.
Wait, before you go on, brother, Kareem is a nickname. Me and you are closer than we think. We're both Hispanic.
Right. But
okay,
I
just wanted to make that clear.
I wanted to call you low-key. I wanted to call you Kareem X, but I didn't know if that was appropriate or not.
I would have accepted it, long as
I'm joking, brother. I'm joking. That's why. But no. But yeah, like I was telling Kareem, like I really appreciate you guys answering some of my questions and stuff like that. I know we have this stuff in our head where it's like, okay, you're a Muslim, I'm a Christian. Okay, there's 2 knives on the floor. Let's duke it out, right? And it's not even like that. I believe Muslims and Christians could have dialogues and so forth. And instead of me hearing about Islam from other people, might as well hear it from hear from an actual Muslim. So I actually
we appreciate you coming here first. Most people seek knowledge of the other person through the enemies of the other. So we appreciate you coming here first, brother.
Well, see, that's one thing that you and I spoke earlier today. You know, mainly my apologetics is basically for the Christian cults, people who believe in the Bible and actually twists up the Word of God. And so my I have more of a zeal for that. You know, when you use my Bible and then you try to corrupt it and so forth, and you know, make it say things that it doesn't actually say. So to actually speak to someone and say, hey man, you know what, I believe in a Jesus, a whole nother Jesus than what you guys paint, and you know, I don't believe the Bible's the Word of God. To me, that's like, really, okay, what's that? What's your evidence? What's this? And
So
for me
Alex,
to
can we
hear
ask you
people,
anything?
sure.
Question like about authenticity of the Bible as well. Like for example, do you believe that some alterations did take place in the Torah or the New Testament, etc.? Are you aware, or do you say no? I don't believe. Let's just say, for example, the story of the adulterous woman. We know that it was added at least roughly 900 years later. From if you read the NA28, do you have the NA28? Nestle Allen 28?
No,
my brother, remember, he may not be well versed in apologetics yet.
Okay.
So
So, no. I'm just
no, that's fine. How do you spell that? Nestle, like Nelly?
Yeah, Nestle Allen. Yeah,
Nestle Allen.
Are you Greek? Because it's in Greek. It's in the original Greek and it's in English as well. Basically,
and that's of John what?
Nestle Allen 28.
Oh, okay.
Basically, what that happens is that this is by scholars that they go to the earliest manuscript available, and then they take the text from there and then they compile it as the New Testament, if you know what I mean. And if you read Nestle Allen 28, they actually tell you when some additions were there. For example, like we know from Codex Sinaiticus,
right?
Codex Sinaiticus, the 4th century Bible, that the Mark 9, chapter 16, verse 9 to 20 is not there. We know that. So you understand that was added later. So do you believe the same did happen with the Old Testament, like the Torah, or like you know, for example, we know the difference, the time gap between Jesus and Moses is 1500 years, right?
Okay.
The earliest manuscripts of the Torah that you have goes back what, roughly 200 BC, if not maybe 100 BC, if we're looking at the Qumran caves scrolls, the DSS manuscripts, or the Samaritan Torah. The Septuagint goes to the 4th century. We don't have anything earlier. So there's a 1300-year time gap. And we know there was no oral tradition because we don't have any information behind it, because there was a Babylonian exile. So you believe that, are you aware of a scholar by the name of Professor Naum Mizrahi?
No.
Okay, so Professor Naum Mizrahi, he is a New Testament scholar from the Department of Biblical Studies in Tel Aviv. And he confirms the Torah which the Jews and Christians possess was not written by Moses, nor was it written during his time. When he was asked, when was the Torah written? He responded, the truth is, we don't really know. Professor Naomi actually put a rough time date. He said during the Babylonian exile, around 586 BCE. He also said the Torah that we have now stem from oral teaching, oral tradition, national ethics, myths, etc. And he said we don't have any manuscripts, we don't have any oral tradition. So how can
remember,
we?
he's on a time.
So what's your take on that? Just generally.
10-second question. 10-second question.
This is a 15-second, 10-second.
Right, exactly.
No, I'm just giving him a comment. I was
you're
giving him a
good,
little
brother.
commentary
If
behind
that's
my.
your 15 seconds, then this live is 2 hours. Imagine how long.
Let's sum up before the brother goes, because we need to make something clear to him. Because something that he said struck me, and it was something that in the early days that got me as well. And we talked about it earlier when we talked about the verses of the Quran which state that the Jews and the Christians debate with one another, argue with one another while reciting from the same book. And the brother said that he has issue with people taking words of the Bible and misplacing the words and using it for their own agendas. And you'll see that the Quran was revealed nearly 1450 years ago through the memory of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. and it addresses all those contentions that you have and those things that make you uncomfortable within the Bible itself. The Quran is actually addressing all those things, and so I encourage you to keep looking into that. And I'm glad you came here tonight to ask us these questions, and we always welcome any.
And he may also be open to an actual debate instead of a discussion, like, and he'll be
Yeah.
open to come in and you know, get.
Okay, so just before you go, Alex, just give me a 2-second response back by what's your understanding of the, do you think, not that you believe, do you think that some alterations did happen in the Old Testament, or that if it's authentically stemmed down from Moses? Because if it didn't come down from Moses, that means what Jesus learned, according to the New Testament, Luke 2:53, then he would have learned the corrupted version of the Torah. And Allah says in the Quran, Allah taught him the Torah, not that he learned from the rabbis. So Jesus would have learned the corrupted version, if you know what I mean. How would you respond?
You know, it's funny that you actually say that. Me personally, first and foremost, brother, there's no Luke 2:53. just to throw that out there.
52. Sorry, 52.
Yeah, it's okay. It just
I was walking up with my finger. 52.
Yeah, and then
That's always
52.
a mic drop moment when you say
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, like, no, he
And
got
then,
me for the 12 as well. 34,
yeah.
43.
Well, and then Luke 2:52 says, "And Jesus grew in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and man." I don't know anywhere where it says anything about the Torah or anything about the Old Testament.
How did he go in wisdom, knowing the Torah? How did you get to know it?
That part, I'm going to be honest, I don't yonder above scripture, so I don't really know his wisdom in the aspect of, he just got more, what's that word? Cognitive? I can't pronounce that word right now. If he just, say it again?
Cognitive.
There you go. We got more of that, or, I don't know. I'm not going to yonder above scripture.
No, just to let you know, read his commentary on that and see what he says, that he actually did study in the school of Nazareth and he would have gone to synagogue and study. If you read
right, and you know what? As a devout Trinitarian, no one, I don't know any Trinitarian who would actually go against, his man, his nature of being a man, and take away from, his godhood at the exact same time. Yeah.
Brother Alex, I'm not jumping in between you guys. Yeah. I wouldn't do that, but I want to ask this before I forget. What is your strongest, maybe your strongest subject? So that way, you never, because we never want to overburden you with anything.
No, this is
strong.
good.
We all got weak and strong points. So I'm saying for later on, you may want to debate. And so just so we know how to come at you, what would you say is your stronger, like, for example, is it defending that the Bible is the word of God, or defending it that is inerrant, or are you not inerrant and you just believe the message is true, but the words may have been changed? Like, what's your strongest points that you could really talk about,
Trinity, maybe?
Yeah, it will have to be the deity of Christ and the Trinity, as of right now. The deity of Christ and the Trinity.
Not only from the Bible, though, right? Like, you if you debated that, you wouldn't just start reading verses. Would you like come with a logical reason why, or is it just you go straight to the verses?
Define logical.
Like, for example, you come into the debate, is Jesus divine? Like, we're obviously on two different sides. I believe Jesus was a man and a prophet. You believe he was part of God in some way, and we'll learn more about that. How would you defeat me? Would you just read and say, look, it says it here, or look, it says it here? Or do you go deeper and just read
and see, I think that's what you and I were talking about earlier. It's like it's like the best way I know how to put it is this. In high school, I used to wrestle, right? Okay. And I did collegiate wrestling. So I go and I meet up with someone, and I'm going to say Kareem, for instance, right? And Kareem's like, I used to wrestle too. Oh, really? Are you serious? All right, cool. You want to grapple? You want to roll around? Hey, let's do it. And all of a sudden, Kareem said, all right, so we're going to do Greco-Roman wrestling. Whoa, Greco-Roman wrestling. Now, for any of you guys who don't know what I'm talking about, collegiate wrestling will be, you shoot in, and you try to take someone down, either the arms or the legs, or, by all means, right? Greco-Roman wrestling is like, no, it's just only upper body. It's only upper body. We don't shoot for the legs. It's a whole nother style of wrestling. And the reason why I bring that up is my whole I've been doing apologetic for 2 years. My whole apologetic approach and to the people I've been concentrating on is just for people who believe in the Bible. But, you know, you have Christian cults out there like the Mormons or like the Jehovah's Witnesses who will say Jesus is not God, but yet they'll quote the Bible and claim to prove their point, Jesus is not God. You have so-called biblical Unitarians who will say the exact same thing, but they will say that the Holy Spirit is either an extension of the Father or a force of the Father,
So
right? And so
you say you're correct, Alex, other than the other, you know, the rest of them. What makes you say you're correct? And if you say that they use the Bible for their example, then we would have expected the Bible, the very first term in the Bible, to say Jesus, God, or something like that. When Allah says in the Quran, or in the Quran, when we read the very first word, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful. We see directly that we are speaking about Allah, who is the God. So why do we not, like, generally just saying, like, for example, when Jesus said, "I and my Father are one," why didn't he come out with, like, "I and my Father and the Trinity and the Holy Spirit is one"? Why was the Holy Spirit dismissed from there? Do you see? I mean, you know what I'm trying to say? What happened? What makes you say you're correct?
Right. Well, the best way to explain that, you know, before I gotta go, but the best way to explain that is Jesus said it many times. He's God. You know.
But how do you know he specifically said that? Because you're quoting from John when he said, "I am." But then, if I was going to use the synoptic, I won't find it. But then the I am itself,
I beg to differ. I beg to differ.
All right, so let's stop right there. So the debate is on. The debate is on. Let me say something real quick. Brother Alex, you said that I know you're currently on the offensive when it comes to cults, and I know you're not really looking for Muslims to debate. So we have to know, because of course we know you believe your faith is right. We believe ours is right. But do you have not a passion, but do you even have a desire to maybe debate the issue? Because even if you go on your hunt for the cults for the rest of your life, we're going to still be in here saying that we have evidence that shows that you don't have to let God go. We want you to believe in God. We want you to believe in Allah. We want you to believe in Jesus. But we think you're sincerely wrong. And if you're exposed to the truth of monotheism and you continue upon your way, we fear you're going to go to hellfire. So does that give you enough of a drive to come in here and set a debate up on you know, whether Jesus is God and really explain to us?
Yeah, you know what? Most definitely. I think that's something that I wanted to just clarify with the brothers. Mustafa original. It would be my pleasure to.
Would you want to debate me on this? Okay, can I debate you on the subject, the crucifixion?
I will say that as of right now, I'm more like I stated earlier. My main topic that I'm actually comfortable with is actually proving the deity of Christ or the Trinity from the Bible.
Let me just let you know, Alex. I have associated and I have studied under tons of subjects of the Unitarian Christians. So in this subject will be like a piece of cake for me. I want something difficult.
Great. Let's.
I want something difficult, like, you know, that you can take me on, like, to disprove that Jesus is God. It's so easy, especially when I have a backup of like tons of.
I'm sure he would beg to differ, though. So
I would definitely beg to differ and everything. I'm actually.
Would you like to debate Anthony Buzzard by any chance?
Yeah, Anthony Buzzard. Yeah.
Brother, you got friends that you could bring in here? Other Christian friends that may want to come in and hang out? Not now, but later.
I don't know about hanging out, but I
know what I mean. Setting up debates, communicating.
Yeah. I got some partners. And actually they're very well versed in the Quran. Listen, I just want to go back and answer the brother's question, his original question, when it comes to do I believe the Bible has been authenticated and so forth, and what's my view on that? I believe that we have the Word of God, right? I could say I am out of 1 to 10. I'm like a good 5. I'm like a good 5 when it comes to defending the authenticity of the Bible and that is incorruptible and so forth and so forth.
No. You're defending, but I'm saying, do you accept or don't?
Right. I know. Yeah, that's the point, brother. So I accept the Bible as the word of God. I believe that it hasn't been corrupted. I believe that God preserved it. I believe that I'm a good 5 out of 10 when it comes to defending it. And to tell you the truth and everything, me speaking to you fine gentlemen, it actually intrigues me, and it actually it's very humbling. It's very humbling because
By
of
the
the
way,
fact that,
Alex, I
yeah.
have a Samaritan Torah, and I have the DSS manuscript that's written in the whole Bible, and I can prove it to you that the Masoretic that you read has been completely altered. No, completely meaning that at least 55% of it is altered, and I can prove it to you because I
Yeah,
have the Samaritan Torah. And
I
I have,
would love.
Don't give him all your info before the debate.
no, I'm just saying, no, it's not a problem.
Well,
Everyone
so,
has.
and that's the thing. Like because of the fact and everything, it's not my expertise as of right now. You know,
Okay,
it's
fair
not my
enough.
expertise as of right now.
Just
I would
okay, fair
never
enough.
I wouldn't debate it at that particular point because it's not my expertise as of right now. Like, you know, the deity of Christ, the deity of Christ, and so forth. You know, the Trinity, and
That's
there's
perfect.
other things. There's other things that I do debate on when it comes, but it's more of an in-house type of debate between Christians. You know, Calvinism versus Arminianism. You know, predestination and so forth. And so, just other stuff, but that's more of an in-house thing
Please
that you
bring your
guys probably
friends
wouldn't.
also, my brother. We would
Yeah.
appreciate it.
But let's definitely, Brother Mustafa, let's set something up and everything. And if we could come to terms, let's do it. Let's rock and
Yeah, we'll
roll.
do it after Christmas or New Year's, maybe it'll be better.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. It's a holidays and stuff like that. So, but hey, you guys, I gotta let you go. My wife's
Yes,
giving me
yes.
that dirty. She's giving me that dirty look. So.
Nice one, brother
Hey,
Alex. Thank you
it
for
was.
speaking to us. You've been such a humble person.
Yes, sir.
Honestly, man, I really enjoyed talking to you, brother. If I've said anything that hurt you or anything, or refer to the other guy, forgive me. It was out of the spirit of me, the dialogue. But I never.
The love of the sport. Yeah.
I really enjoy brothers like you, and you know what? Thank you very much, sir.
You got it, my brother. I'm not
All right,
worried
man.
about
See you
that.
later.
All right, Kenny. Everybody,
All right, Alex,
you guys be cool.
have a good one.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, so let's sum it up. It's been a great discussion tonight, and
It's been really good, bro. Honestly, I really enjoyed it. Alex is such a nice guy, man. You know what? This is what I'm talking about. And the other dog, sorry to say, CP, yeah, CP2. Sorry, guys, it's 4 o'clock in the morning, coming up to 4.
yeah.
I have work, inshallah. So, mate, when are you gonna get on next? Are you gonna give me a little list, like tomorrow, maybe the day after?
Well, we've been coming on every night.
Oh, then tomorrow, give me a heads up, then, bro. Probably 12 o'clock or something will be better.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
Yeah, we'll give you a heads up.
Alaikum assalam.
Okay, assalamu alaikum, brother. All right, so we're going to sum it up, and we thank you for tuning in to Kenny Bomer Live on Consider This TV, where truth is being made clear from falsehood. And we pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides us all to more wisdom and understanding, and He increases us all in knowledge. And first and foremost, He has mercy on each and every one of us, whether we're Christian, Muslim, or Jew, on the day of judgment. That's a day that we can't escape from, and time is precious. Time is like ice, just melting away. We'll never get time back, and we need to take advantage of the time that we do have and utilize it in a means that will be pleasing to our God, our Creator. So, whether you're Christian, Muslim, or Jew, I do leave you in peace by saying Assalamu alaikum, rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be upon everyone who's watching. Brother Kareem, thank you for coming in again, and we'll be in communication throughout the day tomorrow, inshallah, and try to see if we can get the self-proclaimed Christian prophet Olga Yates back on at some point. Once again, this is Kenny Bomer Live on Consider This TV, where truth has been made clear from falsehood. If you'd like to give to the Dawah Fund, you can click on the link. You can go to paypal.me/Kenny Bomer, and also you can look up and purchase my book at kennybomer.com or on Amazon. The book is Consider Islam Disproving the Pages of Propaganda, and be on the lookout for the upcoming book, Everything is a Test, Truth has been made clear from falsehood, which should be released sometime in the summer of 2020, God willing. So thank you for watching. Assalamu alaikum. Rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen, La ilaha illallah. Wa shadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. I bear witness there's no God other than Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his final servant and the seal of all prophets.